Chapter 650. Water Emperor charged out excitedly. Naturally, Swordhead and the others didn't fall behind. Swordhead once swept the land with the million swords of Sword Palace, suppressing Monster Emperor so much that he couldn't even raise his head. He also gave the Alliance 9-star generals a huge headache. Although he had returned the foundations, he still couldn't underestimate Swordhead's strength. Swordhead's aura rose, and he gave off a majestic aura. In the sky, numerous sword intents filled with killing power hung down. He hadn't attacked in a long time. The killing energy in his heart had nowhere to be used. Now that he faced an evil god, he could vent it out. Swordhead stood with his arms behind his back and floated in the air. His robe rustled, and he stepped forwards. The killing sword intent gathered in the sky descended like an arrow rain. Who? Bastard! Who the hell let that guy in? Evil god Yao Shun hollered in rage. He was swallowed several times, and finally found a chance to escape. The rage in his heart was hard to calm down. He felt that another evil god had betrayed them. If not, how could such a thing happen? Suddenly, this aura. Evil god Yao Shun was stunned. He sensed several terrifying auras striking from afar. They were filled with killing intent. He raised his head, and his expression was one of shock. What? In the sky above, tens of thousands of swords rushed over, bringing with them a boundless and terrifying might. Shwa shwa. The sword intent stabbed into the evil god's eyes. His body was like a beehive. Screams rang out. Swordhead, your move is amazing. You have turned the evil god into a beehive, but with his current situation, we have no way to attack him. Water Emperor shouted. A transparent light gathered on his fists. He looked left and right to find a spot on the evil god's body that he could attack. The best is yet to come, Swordhead said. He took in a deep breath, and then his gaze turned sharp. He hollered, Blood Sword. Selah. The sword intent that stabbed into the evil god's body shook. Endless killing power exploded, and with a loud explosion, the sword intent exploded. Evil god screamed. Numerous pieces of evil god flesh and blood were blown apart. Amazing. Water Emperor praised. He didn't stop and waved his fists. Light turned into two water dragons that shot forwards. Dragon roars shook the sky and the two water dragons wrapped around the evil god's body. With a loud explosion, they exploded once more. Old Ancestor Zhao and Su Changsun didn't show any weakness. Their auras rose and gathered to the peak. They attacked and a bright light covered the sky. They all smashed into the evil god's body. Bang! Bang! As for the divinator, he just stood at the side and watched. He was much weaker than them, so he didn't go up to help. Moreover, if he really rushed forward, his fate would not be any better. It was very likely that he would be hammered to death by the opponent. Haze I cultivated hard, but my cultivation fell behind. If I knew that this would happen, I would have cultivated first. The divinator was helpless. Seeing them fight so happily, his heart itched. Although these old guys were old, their hands and feet were still very nimble. Their movements were as fierce as tigers. And the damage they dealt was even more incredible. Stop hitting him. He seems to be dead. Water Emperor felt that the situation wasn't right. Evil god's shouts disappeared, and that huge body seemed to have shrunk by a lot. When Swordhead and the others heard the voice, they stopped. The region that was shaken by the terrifying aura calmed down, and the dust dissipated. A deep hole was left in the ground. White smoke rose up from the deep hole. Water Emperor landed, and when he saw the situation, his expression became a little weird. What was that black thing in the deep hole? The bunch of them landed and surrounded the deep hole. They looked in. I just want to ask, what is that black thing? Asked the Water Emperor. Su Changsun frowned. I can't tell, maybe it is evil god's flesh and blood? Damn, you know that it is evil god's flesh and blood? How did it end up in such a mess? Water Emperor scolded and then looked at Swordhead. You have to take full responsibility for this. An evil god was stabbed into a porcupine by you. Didn't you feel good enough? You exploded it and actually blew it up. Even if there was something good, it would be gone. Water Emperor, don't slander me. I didn't destroy the corpse. I think you did it. How could Swordhead be doubted by them? Naturally, he had to retort. He wasn't going to take the blame. A bunch of them came to Evil God World to search for evil gods, and now that they met them, In the end, because they beat the evil god up, they started to blame one another. That was just too much. Hayes, this is fate. This can only mean that you are not fated with fate. The divinator said calmly. Based on fate, all of you will gain benefits. But looking at it now, there are no benefits. Water Emperor and the others looked at one another. They didn't expect that to happen. Divinator, continue to look and see if there are any more. Water Emperor asked. He realized that evil gods were just SOSO. If he paid more attention, nothing would happen. The divinator shook his head. How can there be so much luck? Also, don't underestimate this place. I observed that the fate of this world is really weird, and there are dangers everywhere. We were lucky just now, but we can only continue to wait and hope that more luck will come. Hayes, Water Emperor sighed. If it's fated, then it will happen. If it's not, then don't force it. So that's what it means. If I knew, I would have attacked alone and left his corpse intact. But now that all of you joined in, the situation has changed. Lin Fan and Old Ancestor Shao searched, but didn't get anything at all. Weird, how did this happen? Old Ancestor Shao frowned and didn't understand. The Tao pattern laws returned so quickly naturally because evil gods were being killed. But sect leader Lin and him searched for so long and still didn't find any traces of evil gods. That was weird. This situation is a little off. Evil gods probably didn't appear here. Or maybe they weren't killed by the four alliances. Do you think they are fighting amongst themselves? Lin Fan asked. Old Ancestor Shao shook his head. Impossible. Even if evil gods fight amongst themselves, they wouldn't kill one another. That goes against evil god rules. Even the top evil god wouldn't dare to kill evil gods. Then continue to search. I feel like we are getting closer and closer to the truth. Lin Fan said. Okay. A few days later, the Tao pattern laws became thicker and thicker. In the deep abyss. Eat. Monster Emperor's mental state was getting crazier. Evil gods were being swallowed by him. His body was totally different, and one could treat him as a monster. Moreover, his body gave off a thick aura. It was like the aura of the abyss and another aura mixed together. Evil God Postline paid attention to all of this. He wanted to turn him into an evil god, but who knew that when the energy of the abyss covered him, he would dissolve it. It merged with his own aura and formed another special aura. Where did this person come from? Evil God Postline was in deep thought. He wanted to understand Monster Emperor's situation, but till now, he still couldn't see through it. But things were indeed progressing according to what he wanted. Although it didn't reach his expectations, it wasn't much of a problem. The Tao pattern laws are slowly returning, and the abyss is starting to recover. In just a short while, it will return to the world. Postline's thoughts were slowly about to be realized. He felt really good. There was an indescribable feeling of comfort. Although I can't turn him into an evil god, his situation isn't good. He is covered by the aura of the abyss, and his mental state is starting to become chaotic. Just as he was thinking about all these things, many evil gods cried out in pain. There were even some evil gods who started to curse. They were all forced into a corner. It was as if the abyss had a grudge against them. Each time they revived, they would revive at a fixed place. They couldn't control it at all. Moreover, there was a monster that loved to swallow them. Right, a monster. The other top 10 evil gods realized that the situation wasn't right. They came to the abyss and wanted to break it open to take a look. Who knew that the abyss would block them outside? Even they couldn't enter. Postline, we know that you are stopping us. What are you doing? The third evil god hollered in rage. The abyss shook. It was obvious that he was extremely furious. Do you know that you are harming all evil gods? He hollered in rage and hoped that Lin Fan could come out and explain the exact situation. But no matter how he hollered, evil god Postline still didn't come out. It was like he had already laid his cards on the table. He is crazy, another evil god said. Then another evil god said. The Tao pattern laws that suppressed us are disappearing quickly. What is he trying to do? The disappearance of the three primordial gods and the ancient god is closely related to the Tao pattern laws. Could it be that he wants to release the three primordial gods and the ancient god? They looked at the abyss. although they couldn't see the situation within. But they could sense the painful cries of many evil gods. It was obvious that they faced unimaginable pain. You didn't kill the evil gods? Lin Fan bumped into Su Yi and the others and asked whether or not they were the ones who killed them. Who knew that they weren't? Since a while ago, they rarely met evil gods. Especially during this period of time, there were very few evil gods. One could even say that evil gods had totally disappeared. Lin Fan and old ancestor Xiao looked at one another. Their eyes shone with a weird expression. Sect leader Lin, if they didn't kill them, then who killed them? Unless other evil gods killed them? Old ancestor Xiao said. Lin Fan raised his head and looked into the sky. During this period of time, large amounts of Tao pattern laws returned. It was like a hole had been opened and numerous currents surged out. They couldn't be blocked at all. This was something that he didn't dare to imagine in the past. It seems like we will know the outcome soon. Let's go back. Lin Fan was in deep thought. Were they going to fight to the death? Just thinking about it terrified him. Chapter 651. Yu City. Sect leader Lin. Actually, there is no need for us to return. We can continue to observe the situation there. Who knows, we might find something new. Old ancestor Xiao said. What new? Old ancestor Xiao really liked to think. Lin Fan would never believe in luck. Even if he was lucky, tragedy would be chasing after him. Fan what happened in Evil God World? Why did the Tao pattern laws become so thick? Lin Wani asked. Since he broke through to Tao Realm Stage 8, he had been cultivating. At first it was a little difficult. But slowly, he noticed that the Tao pattern laws became thicker, and the changes each day were really terrifying. This made Lin Wani feel like things weren't right. Father, I don't know the exact situation. Lin Fan said. He was also thinking about what was going on. He felt like something wasn't right. Logically speaking, if it wasn't the people from the Four Alliances, then who was it? Sect leader Lin, actually we shouldn't have returned. Since we don't know who did it, we can search in Evil God World. As long as we continue, we will definitely find out who it was. Old ancestor Xiao said. He was reluctant to leave Evil God World. Killing evil gods was a joyous thing, and to give it up just like that made him feel really helpless. If you want to go, then go yourself. I still have things to do. Lin Fan replied. What was the point of heading to Evil God World now? He couldn't even meet a single person. He really didn't understand what the evil gods were thinking. They would rather be killed by others. They weren't willing to let him kill them. Anyway, if they died to him, they would be able to witness the growth of a terrifying expert. During this growth process, they had contributed, and it wasn't embarrassing to say it out loud. Old ancestor Xiao was helpless. Forget about heading to Evil God World alone. If he really faced an evil god that he didn't want to face, even running would be a problem. Deep Abyss. Ji's arrival told Evil God Postline about Monster Emperor's background. He is called Monster Emperor, a native of rich land. He was once from Insect Valley, and cultivated the bug-controlling technique. Ji said slowly. He knew that he was one with the evil god, and wasn't a human anymore. The change in factions caused Ji's mentality to change. Along with the Alliance's actions, he was extremely disappointed. That was why he wasn't living for anyone else, but for himself. At the same time he was taking revenge. How can humans do that? Evil God Postline was in deep thought. He couldn't understand. How did he do it? He then looked towards Ji. He was also a human, but after being embraced by the abyss, he became an evil god. Although he was fundamentally different from those evil gods, the difference wasn't too big. But Monster Emperor's situation was totally unexpected. Ji was able to know that Monster Emperor was killing evil gods in the deep abyss. Maybe it was because Evil God Postline liked him. Or maybe he was his servant. He vaguely felt that he was being controlled by something. Although this feeling was very subtle. However, if he really wanted to betray the other party, his life or death would be decided by a single thought from the other party. Forget it, don't think too much. Ji, the day you want to take revenge is about to arrive. When the time comes, the evil gods will come to your old world and occupy it. Your return isn't hope for them, but a nightmare. Postline said. I have waited for too long. Ji said slowly. His vengeful heart supported him till now, and he definitely wouldn't forget about the hatred in his heart. Not only did he want to take revenge, but he also didn't forget about the alliance. Alliance. Yan Kuan cleaned up the alliance. That evil god invasion had a huge impact on the alliance. There were many deaths. This caused the citizens of the alliance to fall into panic. To them, there was no peace at all. It was just so terrifying. But Yan Kuan didn't tell them who the culprit was. Ji's appearance wasn't a good thing. Although most people acknowledged their power, there were still some who were thinking about the former alliance. If they found out about Ji's return, who knew what would happen? Just at that moment, Yan Kuan sensed the dimension ripple. Sect leader Lin, why are you here? Yan Kuan asked in joy. To Yan Kuan, with his hard work, the diplomatic relationship between the alliance and the rich land had a perfect start. As long as he continued to work hard, he would be able to establish relations with the rich land. As long as he continued to work hard, he could shamelessly talk to sect leader Lin about this. The alliance had a lack of resources, and they had been dug dry. But rich land had a lot of resources. In the past, he wanted to snatch them forcefully, but now he wanted to talk about friendly cooperation, mutual benefits, and common development. Island Headland Song, and the others didn't seem wary of Lin Fan, but deep down, they were still wary. After all, they were from rich land. But they knew that using force was asking to die. If they wanted to develop, they had to be friendly with each other. So, they didn't think that there was anything wrong with Yan Kuan being friendly towards Lin Fan. Instead, they handed this matter to Yan Kuan to deal with. Lin Fan said, I came to inform you to be prepared. Maybe in a short while, something huge will happen. I think all of you noticed that the Tao pattern laws are getting thicker. There is a reason for that. Yan Kuan's heart shook. He was obviously afraid. What he was most afraid of was that something was about to happen. The alliance couldn't take it anymore. If it happened again, people would really die. Sect leader Lin, what will the outcome be? Yan Kuan asked. He knew that the Tao pattern laws were getting thicker, and the path to stage 8 had appeared. They were all cultivating, and were just a step away from breaking through to stage 8. The outcome is hard to say, but it definitely won't be good. This isn't an internal battle, but a battle between us and the evil gods. You better move the people in the city's underground. If not, if a battle really breaks out, just the ripples will be enough to instantly kill them. Lin Fan thought about it. What were the evil gods thinking? If they really wanted to fight, then who was afraid of whom? Especially now that he had broken through to stage 8, his strength had changed. Even if the top evil god appeared in front of him, he wouldn't fear anything. This, Yan Kuan, and the others looked at one another. It was a little difficult, and then he said, Sect leader Lin, you don't know. It isn't that we can't move all the people underground, but it will cause chaos. It is okay in the short term, but if it drags on, it will cause huge problems. Can you tell us the exact time? If we know the exact time, it will be much easier. Although Yan Kuan and the others were in charge of the alliance headquarters, but he wasn't completely lawless. But if they knew the exact time, then they would be able to explain the situation to the people. Hey, all of you are so problematic, Lin Fan said, and then thought about it. Forget it, good people do good things. Leave this to me. I will broadcast it to the people. I will talk to them. Yan Kuan looked at Lin Fan. For some reason, he had a bad feeling. Sect leader Lin, let us do it ourselves. Lin Fan patted Yan Kuan's shoulder and smiled. Why? You don't trust me? Don't worry, I will definitely do it well. How about this? I am in a rush today. I will stay in your alliance for a night and arrange everything for you tomorrow. Since he came to this world, he had broken away from modern life. The living environment here was not bad. It was close to the original world, and the standard of living was much higher than the original world. Yan Kuan and the others looked at one another, and then nodded. Then, we will have to rely on sect leader Lin's help. When Lin Fan left the alliance headquarters, he only brought one person with him. It was the translator. He didn't understand the alliance's language. At the same time, he asked for many alliance dollars from Yan Kuan. Not long after Lin Fan left, Yan Kuan ordered the local departments to serve sect leader Lin well. He wasn't afraid that sect leader Lin would cause trouble, but he was afraid that the alliance would offend Lin Fan. He didn't know what sect leader Lin wanted to do, but as the people reported the situation, he was stunned. Sect leader Lin went to eat hot pot, and then watched a movie. He then took a shower, and called a technician to give him a simple massage before heading to the arcade to play a few games. Not only was Yin Kuan stunned, even Island Head Lan Song and the others were stunned. Damn, was he telling the truth? Sect leader Lin actually came to the alliance to play around. This is too fucking fake, right? Yin Kuan smiled. It seems like our alliance can last for a long time. Ah, Island Head Lan Song was stunned. What do you mean? Yin Kuan said. What else can I mean? Since sect leader Lin is able to blend into our daily life, it means that he recognizes us. As long as we don't go overboard, nothing will happen. And that makes sense. Island Head Lan Song and the others thought about it and felt that it was true. They weren't afraid that you liked the alliance. They were afraid that you weren't interested in it. To Lin Fan, truthfully, he liked living in such a high-tech world. It was probably because he was used to it in the past. The next day, Alliance headquarters. Sect leader Lin, everything is prepared. We will cut off all channels and shift the scenes here. Yin Kuan said. And then let's begin. Lin Fan said. He was a little eager. Yin Kuan nodded towards the person in charge. The person in charge then gave instructions. Instantly, everyone got busy. Every family in the alliance was watching dramas. The sudden change shocked them so much that they nearly jumped up. Damn, it is the ending. Can you not do that? At the same time, the big screens on the streets switched their screens. They ensured that everyone could see the news. Instantly, across the alliance, the citizens cursed and scolded. Slowly, they realized that the person who appeared on the screen was a little familiar. They had seen him before. Chapter 652. Damn, don't you think that this person looks familiar? He does. Familiar my ass. Isn't that Lin Fan from the rich lands? Our former alliance was wiped out because of this. Wah, he is so manly, I really want to give him a child. You are such a bootlicker. At that moment, the forum was in an intense discussion. They didn't expect that Lin Fan would appear on the screen. Some of them were nervous and felt like something bad was about to happen. Yin Kuan was talking to Lan Song and the others, and he had a bright smile on his face. Only the higher-ups of the alliance headquarters know that sect leader Lin has a good relationship with us. Normal people don't know, but after sect leader Lin's speech, maybe most of them can sense that the relationship between the alliance and rich land is slowly improving. Yin Kuan's thoughts were beautiful. He hoped that the change would start now, to create a beautiful and harmonious life. Cough cough. Lin Fan coughed a few times to calm down the nervousness in his heart. His cultivation might have seemed really strong, but in front of so many people, he was a little shy. To Yin Kuan, when he saw how calm sect leader Lin was, he was obviously thinking about what he was going to say. He was filled with anticipation. Very quickly, Lin Fan slowly opened his mouth. Greetings, citizens of the alliance. Don't you find me familiar? All of you didn't sense wrongly. I am the Lin Fan who wiped out your former alliance. You can call me sect leader Lin. Simple and clear, straight to the point. Yin Kuan nodded. Although sect leader Lin's opening was a little shocking, and it felt like he was bringing up the past, all of that wasn't important. What was important was what he was going to say next. The citizens who were watching the live stream were shocked. They were all thinking about what was going on. Damn, what was this fellow thinking? I won't say any nonsense. I just want to tell all of you that I will give you 4 days to hide underground. After 4 days, I will deal a destructive blow to the alliance. Okay, this is all I want to say. Whether or not you believe me is up to you. Look at my face and remember it. I will look at all of you from all directions. Lin Fan said solemnly, like he was speaking the truth. Rage points plus 11. Rage points plus 111. Rage points plus 999. At that moment, ocean amounts of rage points increased. Normal people or people with weak cultivation couldn't provide Lin Fan with rage points at all. But the alliance had many experts. Upon hearing Lin Fan's words, Their hearts were filled with rage and fear. Yin Kuan opened his mouth and looked at Lin Fan with his mouth agape like he had seen a ghost. Oh my god! What was sect leader Lin saying? He really wanted to head up and stand beside sect leader Lin, to tell all the Alliance citizens not to believe what sect leader Lin said, and that he was just joking with them. What a pity. After Lin Fan absorbed enough rage points, he walked down from the platform. What do you think? Do you think they won't be hiding underground? Lin Fan laughed. Haze. Yin Kuan was helpless. Sect leader Lin this. Lin Fan patted Yin Kuan's shoulder. Don't worry. How could what I said be true? I was just scaring them. Don't take it to heart in case you think too much and give yourself pressure. Yin Kuan didn't know what to say. He even felt like crying. This was a real act. They were the only ones who knew the truth. As for the ordinary citizens, they were probably scared to death. Why are you still standing there? It is definitely a mess. Send someone to calm them down, and then bring them underground. I haven't solved my own matter, so I have to leave. Lin Fan waved his hands and left in satisfaction. Yin Kuan, what should we do? Island Head Lansong was helpless. He didn't expect sect leader Lin to say such words. Although it was a good idea, wouldn't it scare the Alliance people to death? What else can we say? We can only let the local departments maintain order. At such a time there might be chaos. If we face such a situation, we will suppress them, and we won't let them off easily, Yin Kuan said, although he didn't see the situation outside. However, everyone who was watching the live broadcast was stunned when they heard Lin Fan's words. Lin Fan's strength was terrifying. Be it the Alliance 9-star generals or the normal people, they all knew about it. They really couldn't fight him head-on, and he was just too terrifying. Rich land. Imperial Dynasty. Lin Fan came to the Imperial Dynasty. This was the most luxurious city out of all the cities in rich land. Xiaoqi, come out and see me. Lin Fan floated above and shouted. His voice spread all around. The Imperial Dynasty was so huge, and he obviously didn't know which room Xiaoqi was in. It was much more convenient to shout than to find him one by one. Xiaoqi was dealing with matters, and he was about to collapse. If he knew that being the head of the Imperial Dynasty was so tiring, he would have considered it even if he was beaten to death. But he had no choice now. Even if he didn't want to, he had to. Suddenly, he heard the voice outside and was stunned. He felt that it was familiar, and then he remembered who it was. He got up and walked outside. Brother Lin was here. Brother Lin was his sister-in-law. They were related. A stranger coming to the Imperial Dynasty naturally attracted the attention of the Imperial Dynasty guards. They gathered together and charged towards Lin Fan. This was an important place, so how could they allow people to casually enter? When Xiaoqi saw a bunch of guards standing there, taking out their weapons to face Lin Fan, he immediately ordered everyone to retreat. Brother Lin, what matter blew you over? Is my sister back? Xiaoqi asked. Lin Fan landed on the ground. Yongla didn't come back with me. I came to find you, because I have something to tell you. At that moment, the guards around knew who this person was. To be so close to the Emperor, it was only you City Lin Manners Lin Fan. Let's go, let's talk inside, Xiaoqi said. Lin Fan nodded and walked side by side with Xiaoqi. To anyone else, walking side by side with the head of the Imperial Dynasty was an immoral thing. But Lin Fan didn't have the courage to say that. Hey's brother Lin, you don't know how tired I am as the Emperor. I don't have any free time at all. If I knew that this would happen, I would have considered it. Xiaoqi grumbled. Lin Fan smiled. Isn't it easy? Your brothers are all waiting for your position. As long as you say that, they will fight to the death for it. Xiaoqi exclaimed. Actually, I know that I am able to do this safely because of Brother Lin. If not for you, I would have been assassinated. His brothers seemed to have a good relationship with him, but that was because he was just a prince, and not the head of the Imperial Dynasty. Now that he was the head of the Imperial Dynasty, naturally many people were jealous. If he died, then naturally his brothers would take over. Don't worry, with me here, your position will be stable. Don't worry that I will die before you. With my current situation, even if you die of old age, I promise that I will still be the same, Lin Fan said. Brother Lin, I am still young. It is too early for me to die. Xiaoqi smiled. He then came to his usual resting place and told the guards to prepare tea. Very quickly the tea was brewed. Xiaoqi asked, Brother Lin, what is going on? He knew that something that Brother Lin cared about definitely wasn't simple. Lin Fan drank the tea and said slowly, in a period of time, something huge will happen. As the head of the imperial dynasty, you are in charge of the people. You need to send people to move them from the cities to somewhere near the imperial dynasty. Xiaoqi was shocked. Brother Lin, the workload isn't light. I know it isn't, but not all the cities have to be moved away. The cities near the restricted ocean have to be moved away. Lin Fan said, if evil gods were really coming, then they would come from the ocean eye. As long as he waited there and welcomed them, then they wouldn't be affected too far away. Okay, I will get someone to arrange it, Xiaoqi said. While Lin Fan and Xiaoqi were talking, the imperial dynasty's harem received the news. Yu City's Lin Fan came to the imperial dynasty and talked to the emperor in the reading room. They all knew who Lin Fan was. Princess Yongla's husband, Martial Path Mountain sect leader. The imperial dynasty was able to snatch it back from King Wudong because of sect leader Lin. So one could say that if Xiaoqi decided to kill someone, the only one who could make Xiaoqi stop this thought was him. Thus, at that moment, many concubines purposely came to the reading room. To them, if sect leader Lin said that his concubine was not bad, then her position in the harem would be much higher. Brother Lin, my sister and you don't have a child now? Xiaoqi asked. Lin Fan looked at Xiaoqi. You make it sound like you do. Xiaoqi smiled. I am not prepared to have a child. You don't want one? Then, who will you give the throne to? Lin Fan said. Then he sized him up. I think your body is a little frail. Is it because you have too many harem matters? Xiaoqi said awkwardly. How is that possible? My body is great. Actually, if you and Yongla have a child, I will write a will to pass the throne to my nephew. This is my gift as an uncle. You really know how to be a good person. Your nephew doesn't care about the throne. In the future, he will cultivate with me. Even if he doesn't achieve much, he will at least be the second strongest in the world. Lin Fan said. But thinking about how Yongla wanted the child to be safe and far away from fighting and killing, that made things tough for him. Without strength, one would be easily beaten up. His head hurt. Xiaoqi looked at Lin Fan. Then, I can give birth to a niece and let her become the first empress. Okay, it is still too early. When the time comes, let's see if your sister will give it to me. Lin Fan said. But if your brothers aren't obedient, then send someone to tell me. Those who should disappear have to disappear. Xiaoqi patted Lin Fan's shoulder and didn't say anything. Chapter 653. After Lin Fan discussed some things with Xiaoqi, he left. He floated in the air and looked down at the imperial dynasty. He was in deep thought. As expected from the scheming imperial dynasty, he saw that there were many women wandering around on purpose, but he didn't know who they were wandering around for. Didn't they know that he could fly? He could sense the sadness in Xiaoqi's heart. But if Xiaoqi knew what Lin Fan was thinking, he would definitely say, Brother Lin, it is a little sad, but not everyone can understand the joy within. Lin Fan used the power of faith to spread his orders for them to help the imperial dynasty evacuate the people near the ocean eye. One had to say that the darkness god domain was not bad. The people who believed in him would obtain unimaginable power. They didn't need to cultivate and just needed faith. They didn't need to do anything else. The people were also very simple. They used this power to farm, which showed that they had quite a bit of research and development talent. Lin Fan was happy about that. He was happy that the people could use the power he gave them. As for whether or not they could help in dealing with the evil gods, that was a complicated problem. With their cultivation, they could indeed fight with the evil god servants. But there was no need. They just had strength. When they faced those disgusting monsters with liquid flowing all over their bodies, they would be terrified to death. Thus, they had to rely on themselves. You city, I went to the imperial city and met your brother. He is having a good life and is happy as the imperial dynasty head. Lin Fan looked at Yongla, who was packing things for him, and casually said, if Xiaoqi knew that Lin Fan would say that, he would definitely grumble. Happy my ass. He was so tired every day that he even wanted to die. Yongla lowered her head and packed up. She didn't say a word. Lin Fan said, once this ends, there won't be any problems in the future. I will be able to accompany you more. Yongla was worried and said softly, can I not go? Her voice was soft and Lin Fan didn't pay attention. He asked curiously, what? Can I not go? Yongla was still packing and her tone was a little begging. Bring father and Auntie Sue and leave this place. Find a place to live peacefully. I am afraid that something will happen to you. What are you thinking about? Lin Fan said. I, Lin Fan, have never been afraid of anyone. Moreover, those evil gods won't back down just like that. I'll just let them be even more cocky. As long as I suppress all of them, that will be the safest. Then he walked behind Euphoria. Don't worry, nothing will happen. Euphoria packed the things and placed them on the table. I don't care about the outcome. I just want you to return safely. Lin Fan nodded and kept the change of clothes in his dimension. It was time to go on a long journey again. And what he said was the truth. As long as the evil god was dealt with, then everything would end. This was the final enemy. At least for now. Outside. Go Z cousin 9 demon old ancestor Xiao, let's head out. Lin Fan waved his hand and looked towards his father. Father, don't go. Yu City still needs you to defend it. Fanner, be careful. Lin Wani said solemnly. He wanted to tell Lin Fan that if the situation wasn't good, retreat right away. But he knew that even if he said all that, it was useless. If his son would listen to him, then he would have seen a ghost. Father, don't worry. I don't care about those evil gods. Just live like usual and leave everything to me. Lin Fan said. Look at how thick the Tao pattern laws were. According to this situation, when the density reached a certain level, something should happen. It was impossible for him not to look forward to it. Lin Wani said, Kid, can't you change your personality? No matter how weak the enemy is, you have to pay attention to them. Don't fail miserably. I know. Lin Fan replied. Father started to nag again. But naturally, he paid attention to the evil gods. He paid attention to the top 10 evil gods. The top 10 evil gods had their own methods. Lin Wani didn't say anything more. He knew that it was useless, and he could only tell him to be careful. If he could help, it meant that this matter wasn't difficult for Fanner, but if he couldn't help, then he would be dragging him down. Instantly, Lin Fan brought cousin and the others into the dimension and headed towards the ocean eye. Gozi, did you bring the pots and pans? Gozi said, yes, I brought them all. That's good. Lin Fan didn't know when something would happen at the ocean eye, so he told Gozi to bring these things so that he could cook there. He wanted to bring Mu Gang along so that he could have someone to loosen his bones. But thinking about it, forget it. Mu Gang's cultivation was too low, and she would drag him down. If a war broke out, even running would be a problem. Zhao family's dragon, ancestral dragon, said, the existence of those evil gods goes against the laws of heaven and earth. No matter how evil they are, they will have a bright side. But based on my observations, those evil gods are condensed evil and shouldn't exist. Yin and yang? But that isn't important anymore. As long as they dare to come, we will teach them a lesson, Lin Fan said. Not long later, restricted ocean eye. When Lin Fan arrived there, he could sense endless Tao pattern laws sweeping out from the ocean eye and merging into heaven and earth. That wasn't something that could be done just by killing one or two evil gods. Who was killing the evil gods? He couldn't understand it, and he couldn't understand it. After Gozi landed, he went to prepare things. He was going to stay here for a period of time, and he had to prepare some tools. Cousin was like a guard. His eyes locked onto the ocean eye, and he was on guard. Sect leader Lin, are you here for a vacation or are you here to fight? Old ancestor Xiao was helpless. He was convinced, but he was a little happy. Gozi was here, which meant that he would have something to eat during this period of time. He hoped to be able to eat Gozi's braised carp again. Fighting and having a holiday aren't contradictory, right? Although we are here to fight evil gods, our quality of life can't be bad. Lin Fan said. Old Ancestor Shao nodded. That makes sense. Of course it makes sense. If it didn't, would I have told you? Lin Fan took out the reclining chair from the dimension and laid on it leisurely. He couldn't do anything now and just waited quietly. Whenever the evil gods came out, he would regain his motivation. Anyway, he wasn't in a rush at all. He looked at the sky and the ocean. The scenery was so beautiful, and it was a form of enjoyment. In the distance, Gozi was preparing ingredients while Cousin stood there like a statue. As for Nine Demon, it laid in Lin Fan's arms and slept. Apart from sleeping, what else could Ancestral Dragon do? Old Ancestor Shao was helpless. This situation was a little confusing. What should he do? Just stand there in a daze? Based on what he was thinking, he could head to Evil God World to take a look. Who knows, he might even face some new things. But sect leader Lin had no motivation at all. So, he gave up on that thought. Alliance. Yan Kuan was really busy. Because of sect leader Lin's words, the alliance was totally shaken. The people were really frightened by Lin Fan. No one wanted to die. Even those who shouted that they wanted to fight Lin Fan to the death were quietly waiting for arrangements to hide underground. Haze, luckily it is under control. Many people wanted to do some things during the chaos, but luckily they were stopped. Now the various cities are arranging for them to head underground. Island Head Lansong said. Yin Kuan said, I don't know what is going on. If sect leader Lin and the evil gods fight and end up losing, it won't be good. If the evil gods win, maybe we can have a good talk with them and coexist peacefully. Island Head Lansong said in a whimsical manner. For some reason, when Yin Kuan heard Island Head Lansong's words, he laughed. Lansong, aren't you thinking too much? To talk to evil gods, so many alliance cities suffered from evil gods. Can't you see what kind of existence they are? If that really happens, the alliance will be eaten up by the evil gods, and not even a single hair will be left. He would rather talk to sect leader Lin than the evil gods. Without a doubt, he was just asking to die. Island Head Lansong, and the others thought about it, and that was indeed the case. How is the evacuation going? Yin Kuan asked. Luckily, each city had a giant underground space, otherwise, he really wouldn't know how to arrange it. It is almost done. After all, there are too many people, and we can't evacuate them in a short time. Island Head Lansong said and then asked curiously, how long will this situation last? If it takes too long, I am afraid there will be chaos here. If you let people who were used to living on the surface live underground for a short period of time, there would be no problem. But if it took too long, something would definitely happen. Yin Kuan said, I don't know. I can only wait for news. If there is no news, then I won't return to the surface. To him, the alliance couldn't take any more shocks. If they lost more people, then the alliance would really collapse. A few days later, furious roars spread out from a certain part of the deep abyss. The evil gods weren't teleported to Monster Emperor and were chased out of the deep abyss. What a perfect being. Evil God Postline felt a relaxed feeling that he had never felt before. At the same time, when he looked at Monster Emperor, his eyes shone with praise. He was the witness to Monster Emperor's change. From the start till now, he had been changing. Only when he swallowed more evil gods and was unable to change did he stop. What kind of monster is this? Ji was shocked. He didn't dare to say that Monster Emperor was a human. If he was, how could he become like that? He was obviously a monster. Evil God Postline didn't reply, and just looked at Monster Emperor. A terrifying monster that can't be controlled. Chapter 654. Damn, who is conning us? Only those few can lock us in the abyss. What are they trying to do? I am about to go crazy. I am a noble evil god. How can I be swallowed by such a small living being? Those evil gods that were swallowed were finally released. And the moment they were released, they felt a chill run down their spine. They exploded on the spot. The anger in his heart burned fiercely. They were certain that the evil gods were the ones who conned them. Although the positions of both sides were different, it couldn't stop the rage in their hearts. The bunch of evil gods scolded. Suddenly, the abyss started to shake under their terrified gazes. At the same time, A bad aura spread towards them like it was going to harm them, although there were frequent tremors in the past. But the abyss had never given them a bad feeling before. What the hell is going on? Just at that moment, some evil gods cried out. Not good, leave, the abyss is hurting us. At that moment, an evil god cried out in pain. When his tentacle touched the abyss, it was destroyed right away. Moreover, the pain was real. What? All the evil gods were stunned. Damn. They were evil gods. Returning to the abyss was akin to returning home. How could something like this happen? This was something that shouldn't have happened at all. Within the abyss, the top 10 evil gods all appeared. Postline, what are you doing? They were stunned too. Those were evil gods, and they actually let the abyss hurt them. How is that possible? At the same time, they were terrified. What did Postline do to the abyss? Why did the abyss listen to him? I didn't do anything. I am just planning something. It is good for all of you. Evil God Postline said. What are you planning? You are the one who made the Tao pattern laws return. They were suppressed above the abyss. So why did they merge into their bodies? An evil god asked. He felt that Postline was dangerous. He was much more dangerous than before. That feeling, it was hard to describe. What can he be planning? Naturally, he is planning for the position of the three pillar gods and the ancient god. A voice rang out. The evil gods were shocked. Who was speaking? They actually didn't notice it at all. This was quite terrifying to them. Evil god Postline didn't change much. He smiled. So our noble evil god Masaki has returned. You haven't returned for so long, and I really thought that you died outside. In an instant, the other evil gods were shocked. They didn't expect it to be Masaki. The evil god's undying nature made them think that if Masaki died, he would definitely revive in the abyss. However, after so long, he still hadn't appeared. In their opinion, he must be hiding somewhere. Die. How could I dare to die? Who knows if the abyss will resurrect me? Am I right, Postline? Masaki appeared, but he did not appear in person. Instead, he appeared as a phantom. When the top 10 evil gods heard that, they felt like something was wrong. What did he mean by that? Would the abyss resurrect? How could he not revive? But why did it seem like Masaki was asking Postline when he said those words? Could it be? Thinking of the current situation, a bold idea suddenly appeared in their minds. It was even a little unbelievable. What nonsense are you saying? How could such a thing happen? Postline said with a smile. However, when he looked at Masaki, his gaze became somewhat strange. It was as though he wanted to kill Masaki completely. But Masaki was just an illusion. To kill him, naturally one had to find his main body. Scoff, at such a time, what are you still trying to hide? Do you really think that all evil gods are fools? Masaki was filled with disdain. You have been plotting from the start for the three pillar gods and the ancient god position. Although I am only the second evil god, they love me. You are jealous of me, which is why I am in such a tragic state. But don't forget that the three pillar gods told the ancient god that you will never be able to control the abyss as Father still exists. Masaki hollered in rage. He knew that he had no chance of returning to his peak. Postline was too vicious. He suppressed the evil gods in the abyss and didn't allow the people from the four alliances to kill them. At the same time, he couldn't swallow the evil god corpses, which resulted in slow progress. I don't know what you are talking about. Evil god Postline raised his hand impatiently. He waved and a terrifying power of the abyss struck, shattering Masaki's illusion. Then, he looked at the 10 evil gods in front of him and said slowly, he is just spouting nonsense. Okay, you will find out in the future. Now it is time for you to go to the world that we hate. Go. As he waved his hand, the power of the abyss surged over. Their expressions changed. This was the power of the abyss. Postline could really control the power of the abyss. This was a very bad situation for them. Ji looked on from the side and was really excited. The stronger he was, the higher his chances of taking revenge. You can go take a look. Maybe you will see how your enemy dies to the evil gods. Postline said. Okay, I can't take it anymore. Ji said. He had waited for too long. After becoming an evil god, he saw hope. He even felt fortunate that he could become an evil god. If he didn't know about evil gods, He wouldn't have been able to come into contact with such power in his life. Restricted Ocean I, Lin Fan, and the others spent a few days here. Their standard of living was still okay, and they didn't suffer much. Old Ancestor Xiao had relaxed and treated it like he was having fun. Sect Leader Lin, it really feels good to relax and enjoy life. If I can solve the evil god problem, I really want to look around. Old Ancestor Xiao smiled. But behind that smile was a little bitter. Who knew what the outcome would be? He didn't have any confidence in fighting evil gods at all. He really didn't have any confidence at all. Even if he recovered Dao Realm Stage 9 strength, facing the truly terrifying evil gods, he had no confidence at all. Lin Fan smiled, of course. Life is meant to be enjoyed. As a young master of a rich family, I was supposed to live a carefree life for 100 years. But I was forced to train hard. Look, I became like this. I don't even know when I'll die. Maybe I won't die for the rest of my life. His head hurt. He would become a normal rich family young master and enjoy for 100 years before closing his eyes and leaving. But now, he had a busy life and was working hard for the future. Old Ancestor Xiao didn't want to talk to Lin Fan. He felt like he couldn't talk to this kid at all. Moreover, when he listened to him, it was really infuriating. Suddenly, Restricted Ocean I shook, and a terrifying aura spread out from there. They are here. Old Ancestor Xiao focused. His lazy expression was totally gone, and replacing it with seriousness. Don't panic. Lin Fan still laid there leisurely. He squinted his eyes and looked into the distance. It seemed like it was as they thought, evil gods were here. But shortly after, many familiar voices spread out. Save me! One figure after another flew out from the Forbidden Sea's eye. The one leading was Su Yi. His face was ashen white, and he looked uneasy. He would turn his head occasionally. The one who shouted for help was old demon Wu Wei. They were searching for evil gods in evil god world, but suddenly, the situation changed. A weird aura struck from afar, and they saw many evil gods roaring in rage. Everywhere the aura passed was destroyed, thus they ran right away. Of course, there were some fearless sect leaders who charged up. But in the blink of an eye, that sect leader died in the aura. He didn't even have a chance to fight back. That was just terrifying. What is going on? Why did all of you run out? Lin Fan opened his mouth, and his voice spread through the air. The sect leaders who were panicking looked at the people in the distance, and were delighted. They all headed towards Lin Fan. Sect leader Lin, something happened there. A weird aura covered over and many sect leaders died there. Su Yi said hurriedly, although he was a very calm and collected person, but when he faced such things he panicked. That was because he couldn't see any hope at all. That is the aura of the abyss. Evil gods are really coming. They broke free from the Tao pattern laws so naturally, they are going to destroy them. Old Ancestor Xiao said. Honglong. At that moment, the ocean eye of the restricted sea exploded, and an aura surged into the sky, filling the air. We have to block it, otherwise, the outcome will be catastrophic. Old Ancestor Xiao said solemnly. He grabbed with his fingers and Tao pattern laws descended from above. They turned into snowflakes and floated down. The snowflakes floated around the aura and froze right away. Instantly, a giant ice sculpture appeared in the air. Amazing! Lin Fan praised. Old Ancestor Xiao said helplessly. This can only restrict them and not suppress them. If we don't block them, it will be the same. Kacha! Kacha! The moment Old Ancestor Xiao said that, many cracks appeared in the ice sculpture, and it exploded. The aura that surged into the sky dissipated. The ocean eye calmed down, but there was still a thick aura boiling. Just that it wasn't like before. It was about to cover the entire area. At that moment, in the crowd, Gu Yuan and Su Yuanming lowered their heads and avoided Lin Fan's gaze. They noticed that Lin Fan was searching for someone. Suddenly, a bad voice spread into their ears. Gu Yuan, Su Yuanming, stop hiding. I noticed you too long ago, but I didn't expect you two to survive until now. It really wasn't easy, Lin Fan said. The two people he was most annoyed with in the sect were the two of them. Of course. Now, he didn't want to do anything to them. Chapter 655. The sect leaders who just escaped from Evil God World heard Lin Fan call out their names. They immediately distanced themselves from Gu Yuan and Su Yuanming. In their eyes, these two fellas were just scammers. They were unlucky to be remembered by sect leader Lin, who asked them to be so arrogant in the past. Now they couldn't be arrogant anymore, right? Don't be nervous, I am not interested in all of you. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Lin Fan was really calm. His words terrified the two of them. They didn't dare to believe it. These two were sect leaders with high statuses in the past. Old Ancestor Xiao said, "Sect leaders, now that the evil gods are about to arrive, I hope that all of you can put down your past prejudice and work together to fight against them. If they occupy this place, I don't need to say much and all of you know the outcome." Su Yi said, "We all know that, but the gap between our strength and that of the evil gods is huge. How can we fight them?" The other sect leaders agreed. They all understood what they said. The key was that they weren't strong enough. Old Ancestor Xiao, why are you saying all this? Aren't they just evil gods? What is the big deal? Lin Fan said, "What unity? Even if they all united, they might not even be enough to fill the gaps between Postline's teeth." Lin Fan's confident look made the sect leaders happy. They had to be confident. Only then could they avoid going up against the evil gods. Sect leader Lin, we can't be arrogant now. Old Ancestor Xiao was helpless. He really wanted to tell sect leader Lin to be more stable. But looking at sect leader Lin, he knew that it was useless to say anything. He had been with sect leader Lin for so long, and if he didn't know what kind of person he was, then he would have wasted his time. Arrogant? Old Ancestor Xiao, do you think that I am arrogant before? Lin Fan smiled. He felt that old Ancestor Xiao didn't understand him enough. But he had no choice. Sometimes when one faced something terrifying, even if one was familiar with it, one would be suspicious. After all, evil gods were deeply rooted in old Ancestor Xiao's heart. It was basically impossible to change this situation in a short period of time. Honglong. A shocking explosion spread out from the ocean eye. A terrifying aura spread out. At that moment, boundless radiance erupted from the Forbidden Sea's eye. It is coming. Lin Fan raised his head and waited quietly. What would come would come. He brought his cousin and the others to wait here, for such a long time, just to fight to the death with the evil gods. Although evil gods didn't die. But so what? Even if they didn't die, he still had to kill them. As long as they dared to step into his territory, he would definitely make them pay the price. Cousin. Zhou Zhongmao concentrated, and the aura on his body gradually rose. He was already prepared for battle. As long as his cousin gave the order, he would definitely charge forward without hesitation. Cousin, don't move. You can't deal with these evil gods. Lin Fan said. Although cousin was strong, the gap between him and the evil god was a little huge. Letting cousin charge up was undoubtedly courting death. Old Ancestor Xiao was already floating in the sky. He felt that at such a moment, he was the only one who could fight against the evil gods. As for sect leader Lin, although he was strong, compared to the true evil god, he was much weaker. He did not place his hopes on Lin Fan at all. Suddenly, in the radiance that shrouded the world, huge figures appeared one after another. Lowly blood food, the great evil god is here. Damn it, damn it. The evil gods appeared in rage. They were forced out of the evil god world by the abyss, and they wanted to vent all their rage on these small living beings. The appearance of many evil gods caused a terrifying aura to sweep forth like a storm. Heaven and earth shook. So strong. Old Ancestor Xiao focused and frowned. When he faced these evil gods in the past, he had companions beside him. They were all really strong, which gave old Ancestor Xiao enough confidence. But now he really had no confidence at all. But even so, he didn't fear anything. Since some things had come, then there was no point in hiding. Sect leader Lin, when the strong evil gods appear, I will deal with them. You just need to deal with those that can be killed. Old Ancestor Xiao turned around and said to Lin Fan. Looking at him, he seemed to be pretending to be calm. He was panicking deep down. He was even prepared to die. In the face of a truly terrifying evil god, even he wasn't confident that he could fight against him. Don't be nervous. The situation hasn't reached that stage. Lin Fan said. He wanted to tell old ancestor Shao not to be so pessimistic. With him here, these evil gods were nothing. But forget about it. The atmosphere was really solemn. Even if he said all that, old ancestor Shao probably wouldn't believe him. He thought about it, and decided not to say it. Only when things really happened would old ancestor Shao understand that everything was real. As the number of evil gods continued to increase, old ancestor Zhao's expression became more and more solemn. Not good, old ancestor Shao muttered. There were too many evil gods, and he didn't know whether or not he could hold on. If he had to say something fortunate, it would be that the problematic evil gods didn't appear. Maybe that was the only thing that made old ancestor Shao happy. But at that moment, a terrifying aura exploded. In the sky above the ocean eye, another person appeared. Evil god Calamity. Lin Fan was familiar with this aura. After all, he had fought Calamity before. Even if he hadn't seen him for a long time, it was hard for him to forget his aura. Old ancestor Shao frowned. What he was most afraid of still happened. He didn't want to face the top 10 evil gods. The top-ranked evil gods were really strong. Along with those first and second-class evil gods, he felt that the chances of winning were too low. The surrounding sect leaders looked into the distance in shock. The appearance of large amounts of evil gods had a huge impact on their souls. What should we do? They felt powerless, and didn't know how to face the scenes in front of them. They killed evil gods in evil god world, and they only killed those that they could deal with. But the evil gods that appeared now made them feel that there were many that even they couldn't fight. Small living beings, we have arrived. At that moment, the evil gods stopped increasing, but their numbers were shocking. All the second-class evil gods appeared. Apart from the top 9, all the first-class evil gods appeared. Among them, evil god Calamity was the strongest. Pada! Lin Fan got up from the chair and muttered. They are all here? No, there should be a few more. But that is understandable. The strong ones are always at the back. That is the unchanging logic. He was waiting to see how many evil gods would appear. The current situation made him satisfied. Apart from the first 9 evil gods not appearing, the other evil gods were all here. Lin Fan walked beside old ancestor Shao and patted his shoulder. You can go rest. Leave this to me. When old ancestor Shao heard this, his expression changed as he looked at Lin Fan. He said hurriedly, Sect Leader Lin, how can that be? My strength has recovered to stage 9, and I have enough strength to deal with these evil gods. I know you can deal with them, but they are useful to me, Lin Fan said calmly. Under old ancestor Zhao's astonished gaze, he walked forwards. Along with each step Lin Fan took, the blue dome of heaven seemed to be pulled, trembling fiercely. Shortly after, Lin Fan's body swelled up, and a shocking aura exploded from his body. The evil gods in the distance were waiting. Their hearts were filled with rage towards the abyss, and those top evil gods. They didn't come here willingly, but were forced by the abyss. Evil gods controlled the abyss. They controlled the abyss that controlled their life and death. This was the most terrifying thing to them. Now, in their eyes, the being in the distance walking towards them was just an act of suicide. How audacious! Didn't he see how many evil gods appeared here? Didn't he sense that each evil god here was filled with rage? It is you, you damn living being! Evil god Calamity hollered. He remembered Lin Fan. Remembered this living being that made him lose all his face. Lin Fan didn't say anything. At that moment his body swelled to the extreme. Evil god's body was huge, but compared to Lin Fan, he was like a little brother. I have waited a long time for all of you. Lin Fan opened his mouth, and his voice reverberated in the area. Instantly, numerous Tao pattern laws descended from the sky. Lin Fan opened his mouth and charged towards the bunch of evil gods. His mouth was like a black hole, and a terrifying suction force exploded. What? The evil gods were shocked. What was going on? What was Lin Fan doing? To them, it was as if the entire sky had turned black. You are asking to die. Evil god Calamity was furious. Thick evil god power exploded, turning into an evil god image that smashed towards Lin Fan. But something that Calamity didn't expect happened. When that evil god image touched Lin Fan's terrifying black hole mouth, it exploded and turned into chaotic evil god aura. But the evil god aura was swallowed by Lin Fan. How? Calamity was shocked. It was as if he had seen a ghost. Scatter, scatter. He was really quick. When he said those words, he had already dashed into the distance. He didn't expect Lin Fan to be so terrifying. The last time they met, he wasn't so terrifying. What the hell was going on? Why did this happen? Damn. Some evil gods wanted to flee, but they realized that their bodies were being grabbed by something, and they couldn't move at all. No. Some evil gods raised their hands to block, but to Lin Fan, they were a little weak. Pung. He swallowed them all. To the evil gods, the sky seemed to have turned black. This Calamity, who barely dodged, was stunned. He didn't dare to believe what he saw. Damn. What the hell is going on here? Just as he was thinking about all this, he felt danger surging towards him. Chapter 656. Where do you want to go? How could Lin Fan let Calamity leave? The strongest evil god here was Calamity. To perfectly evolve the darkness god domain statue in his body, he had to swallow it. Damn. Calamity was furious. He was the 10th ranked evil god. He had a really high position in the evil god group. So how could he be suppressed by such a small living being? Instantly, Lin Fan felt the space become sticky. He used that move again. But to him now, that move couldn't work anymore. Lin Fan opened his fingers and waved his arms. With a smacking sound, under Calamity's gaze of disbelief, he grabbed Calamity in his palm. How did this happen? Evil god Calamity hollered in rage and struggled. But in Lin Fan's world, everything he did was in vain. Last time you behaved arrogantly, let's see how you fight back. Lin Fan smiled. He opened his mouth and the black hole appeared once more. As Calamity screamed, he was stuffed into his mouth. Pung. His mouth closed. The darkness god statue in his body underwent a shocking change. Numerous threads spread out from the statue and wrapped around the evil gods, breaking them down. A shocking power spread over. The body of the statue changed. Large amounts of flesh and blood were moving. A finger, the back of his hand, his palm, his arm. It was slowly covered in flesh and blood. It's exactly as I thought. Lin Fan muttered. Old ancestor Shao looked at those scenes with his mouth agape. If he wasn't too shocked, he would have knelt down to Lin Fan. He really didn't expect that the outcome would be like this. Sect leader Lin attacked the evil gods, and there would definitely be a huge battle. Naturally, he couldn't sit still and not do anything. He had to join in. But now, he really didn't give him a chance. There was no intense battle at all. Sect leader Lin just opened his mouth and swallowed all the evil gods. That was just too terrifying. Lin Fan's actions were extremely shocking to all of the grandmasters present. Some sect leaders were thinking about waiting for them to become stronger. They had to take revenge. But when they saw the current situation, they gave up on all their thoughts. There was only one thought in their minds. That was their fault. In the future, they wouldn't think that way anymore. His strength was just too terrifying. What was there to fight for? Even if he used his head, he wouldn't be able to block it. Lin Fan returned to normal and paid attention to the changes in the statue. His flesh and blood continued to move. He swallowed so many evil gods. It wouldn't end so easily. Sect leader Lin, how did you become so strong? Old ancestor Shao was shocked. Even if you break through to Dao Realm Stage 8, you need to comprehend Dao pattern laws. No, even Dao Realm Stage 8 can't kill evil god Calamity so easily. What's going on with you? To old ancestor Shao, Lin Fan's actions shocked him so much that he didn't know what to say. His mind was in a complete daze. Lin Fan said, Old ancestor Shao, if there are some things you can't understand, then don't think about it. It isn't good to think too much, right? Although that was what he said. But to old ancestor Shao, he really wanted to know what the hell was going on. After that, Lin Fan looked over at the mini grandmasters not too far away. When they realized that Lin Fan was looking at them, all of them shuddered as they let out a smile that they did not think was too awkward. They were trying to be friendly. They had no choice. Sect leader Lin's strength was just too terrifying. So many evil gods weren't his match. Maybe the few of them would be killed right away. Luckily, Sect leader Lin didn't have that killing intent towards them. Otherwise, many of them would have knelt down and begged for mercy. Lin Fan just took a look and retracted his gaze. He continued to lie on the chair and closed his eyes to rest. Maybe that was just the beginning. He was waiting for stronger evil gods to arrive. Sect leader Lin, what should we do next? Old ancestor Xiao asked. Rest, I swallowed too much and can't take it. Anyway, evil gods will come themselves, so there is no need to rush. Lin Fan said. At the same time, Lin Fan silently increased the Dao patterns. He had no choice. The increase in rage points was just so domineering. Kacha. At that moment, Lin Fan realized that the darkness god statue in his body was giving off a shocking light. What was once a stone surface was gradually covered by flesh and blood. He felt a god nature slowly awakening. It was a magical feeling. He was sure that this wasn't faith power, but the darkness god domain's god nature power. A little more. The god nature had awakened, and he slowly understood many things. So that was the case. Lin Fan frowned like he didn't expect this to happen. But all of that wasn't important. He just needed to deal with the evil gods, and then all his worries would end. Deep abyss. Furious roars shook the sky. Many evil gods were filled with fear and confusion. We are evil gods, evil god Lula muttered. Although he was ranked low among the first-class evil gods, as an evil god, he felt that such a tragic thing wouldn't happen to him. But now, things happened in front of him. They were swallowed by a lowly creature like ants. What a frightening thing this was. Evil god Postline looked at all of this, and was in deep thought once more. Ha ha ha. Ji didn't go out to fight Lin Fan, and just wanted to be a bystander. When they saw Lin Fan swallow all the evil gods in one gulp, they were shocked. He was really stunned. Shortly after, he found it amusing. So Lin Fan was a monster too. To Ji, evil god flesh and blood couldn't be eaten. Monster Emperor ate evil god flesh and blood, and became a monster. If Lin Fan ate it, then he would definitely follow in Monster Emperor's footsteps. What are you laughing at? Evil god Postline looked at Ji. Ji said, I am laughing that Lin Fan is also a monster. Monster? Postline muttered and then said coldly, when can a monster swallow evil gods? Ji's heart shook. He knew that he was a little arrogant just now, which made Postline unhappy with him. Postline was in deep thought. He looked at the evil gods that revived. He thought that these pieces of trash could surprise him. But who knew that this would happen? All of you continue. Also all of you top 10 evil gods. Instantly, the deep abyss shook. The evil gods that revived in the abyss felt the terrifying power cover them once more, and they were about to go mad. Damn, they were really damn. But they had no choice. I won't go out. Even if I die in the abyss, I won't. I don't believe that he can control the abyss and stop me from reviving in the abyss. Evil god Lula said, facing the deep abyss energy that covered him. He didn't retreat and just walked towards it. The other evil gods looked at Lula in shock. They didn't stop him, but they didn't wait on the spot either. Instead, they retreated. Lula walked into the abyss. They wanted to know what the final situation would be like. But very quickly, a miserable shriek could be heard. Shortly after, the scream disappeared. Evil god Lula was swallowed by the abyss. All the evil gods stared at him. Did he revive? After a while, they didn't see Lula appear once more. They looked at one another. From their eyes, they saw terror and uneasiness. Evil god Lula was really dead? He died in the abyss and didn't revive. That terrified all the evil gods. Leave quickly. If we die in the abyss, we won't be able to revive. The evil gods shouted in terror and charged into the distance. Damn it! What was going on? Evil god Calamity looked at the fourth evil god. Postline really controls the abyss, and we can't fight him. Is his goal to send them to their deaths? The fourth evil god didn't reply. The other evil gods were the same. They were all in deep thought. Not long later. Go, let's head to that world to take a look. He can't totally control the abyss. Even if we die, he can't restrict us from reviving. Restricted ocean eye. Lin Fan laid on the chair. Go Z prepared some fruits. Those sect leaders stood in the distance and didn't dare to get close. They also didn't dare to leave. Suddenly, restricted ocean eye shook once more. They are here again. Which one of the top 10 evil gods will come? Or will it be the same evil gods from before? Lin Fan was filled with anticipation. He hoped that the top 10 evil gods could come. They are here. Old Ancestor Xiao said solemnly. Evil gods' undying nature was problematic. Even if they were killed, they would revive in a short while. If not for the Tao pattern laws suppressing the evil gods, just their undying nature alone would have killed them. And now, to Old Ancestor Xiao, he really didn't know what to do to deal with the evil gods. Don't be nervous. We just wiped out a wave, and now they are coming again. The outcome will be the same, Lin Fan said. Old Ancestor Xiao said, Sect Leader Lin, we have to be careful. Evil gods' undying nature will let them come again, and one day we will run out of energy. Lin Fan's head was filled with question marks. Run out of energy? That was a good reason. Since he started cultivating till now, he didn't know what it was. Forget it. Forgive Old Ancestor Xiao for his ignorance. Lin Fan disappeared from the spot and appeared in front once more. He stared at the many evil gods. What is going on with all of you? Why did you bunch of trash come again? Where are the top 10 evil gods? Where is evil god Postline? Tell him to come out. Small living being, don't be too arrogant. Some evil gods hollered in rage. They were truly enraged to the extreme. They were conned in the abyss, and now they met such a person here. They were furious and really wanted to kill this living being. Forget it. Go back and tell evil god Postline that I want to fight with him. I want to see how different the top evil god is. As for all of you, you are too small. The moment he said this, Lin Fan swallowed the evil gods once more. To Lin Fan, Tao pattern laws were just too useful. Below the restricted ocean eye. Do you see that? Evil god Calamity was shocked and looked at the other evil gods beside him. Although he was ranked 10th, facing Lin Fan, he felt a sense of helplessness. Chapter 657. I saw it. Their expressions were complicated. They didn't know how to describe Lin Fan's situation. They could only say that he exploded. Those evil gods couldn't resist at all in front of him, and were swallowed in a simple and violent manner. What kind of monster is this living being? Their expressions were solemn, and they had never faced such a situation. Since evil gods appeared, the living beings they faced were just their food. But now, however, the situation had completely changed. A living being actually treated them as food. Suddenly, they felt a sense of foreboding engulf them. When they turned their heads, they noticed that the aura of the abyss surged over from the distance. Damn! Postline is forcing us to fight that living being. If we don't, we will definitely be swallowed by the abyss. Evil god Calamity raged. He didn't expect that the one who forced them to such a stage was actually Postline, who was also an evil god. If this was in the past, they wouldn't believe it. Evil god Lula died in the abyss and didn't revive. It seems like Postline really controls the abyss. To evil god Calamity, he was the weakest in the top 10, and his rage towards Postline was the highest. What a waste, these evil gods are just so-so. I thought that strong evil gods would appear, but who knew that they would always be small shrimps? Lin Fan said. Old Ancestor Xiao was silent. He didn't want to say anything else. Sect Leader Lin was really strong, so strong that it didn't make sense. To him, that was impossible. He found it hard to understand how Sect Leader Lin did it. That was just too terrifying. Why aren't you speaking? Lin Fan saw that Old Ancestor Xiao didn't say anything, and thought that he was worried about the evil gods. He consoled. Don't worry. The evil gods that appeared are like ants to me. They can't affect me at all. As for those evil gods that didn't appear, there is no need to fear them. Their death date has arrived. Old Ancestor Xiao listened to Lin Fan's words. He wanted to say that he wasn't thinking about all this, but was thinking about his strength. Even if he ate pills, he wouldn't be as strong as him. Lin Fan's cultivation had reached Tao Realm Stage 8, and comprehended the characteristics. At the same time, his strength exceeded Tao Realm Stage 9. There was nothing he could do about it. Dual cultivation. There was also the Darkness God domain buff. The changes were huge. The flesh and blood of the statue was still lacking. Maybe it was because it was lacking some evil gods. Suddenly, the restricted sea's eye shook, and an aura even more terrifying than before erupted. Is there finally an expert? Lin Fan was filled with anticipation. Those evil gods were so boring, it was like they were crushing ants. There was no point in doing it. It's them. Old Ancestor Zhao's expression was solemn. He sensed a familiar aura. Although he hadn't seen it in a long time, he wouldn't forget it. Top 10 Evil Gods. Those evil gods who had fought with them intensely. At the start, they weren't able to defeat the evil gods alone, and were even in danger of dying. They needed several Dao Realm Stage 9 experts to fight on the same level as the evil gods. Immediately after, a terrifying shockwave swept through the entire world. What kind of terrifying power is this? Suyi was very far away, but when he felt this aura, he felt that his body was a little unstable. The faces of all the sect leaders were filled with fear. They killed evil gods in the evil god world, and felt that although evil gods were strong, they couldn't cause problems for them. But now they realized that they were thinking too much. So it was because they didn't meet the truly terrifying evil god. If they met these evil gods, they would have died long ago. Lin Fan stepped out and stood in the air. He smiled. I have waited for a long time for all of you to come out now. Aren't you a little too patient? One figure after another appeared. The true bodies of the evil gods were all really terrifying. To other people, if they saw the true bodies of these evil gods, they would pee their pants. It was just too terrifying. Evil god Calamity, you didn't appear just now and called your friends over. With your strength, you will just be swallowed. Lin Fan said. Damn. Calamity looked at Lin Fan in rage. He couldn't accept such humiliation. However, there was a huge gap between his own strength and the other parties. If he could suppress the other party, do you think that he would still be standing here in a rage and not make a move? Weren't there 10 evil gods? Why are there only 8 of you? Where did the other 2 go? Why didn't the top evil god come out with all of you? Did he send all of you to die? Lin Fan asked. He felt like he was looking down on them. He thought that all 10 evil gods would appear, but didn't expect that there were only 8. It really made him feel helpless. Lin Fan, now that all 8 of us are here, do you still want to be arrogant? Calamity grumbled. Even if he wasn't Lin Fan's match, he didn't fear anything. After all, he had 7 top 10 evil gods beside him. How could they not be his match? Old Ancestor Zhao walked beside Lin Fan and said solemnly, Sect Leader Lin, you can't be careless. Let me help you. He knew that he couldn't help much. After all, the evil gods in front of him were really terrifying. He couldn't kill them at stage 9, but he could restrict them. Lin Fan patted Old Ancestor Zhao's shoulder. Stop fooling around. Retreat. This has nothing to do with you. If you join in, you will drag me down. Damn. He was despised. Old Ancestor Zhao was stunned as he looked at Lin Fan. He gathered his courage and was prepared to fight the evil gods together with Lin Fan. Who knew that he would be despised just like that? That was just too much. There is no point in speaking so much nonsense to all of you. I will suppress all of you, so why aren't those 2 coming out? The moment he said this, Lin Fan struck towards the evil gods. 9 demons squinted and waited quietly. Master didn't call him, so he wasn't anxious at all. He was really unhappy with these evil gods. He had a good time in Yu City. Thus, he hated these evil gods that caused trouble. Honglong. A battle exploded. You small living being, you are asking to die. Some evil gods raged. The sky changed color. This was the specialty of evil gods. If Lin Fan didn't break through to stage 8, he wouldn't be able to fight back at all. But now, whether or not these evil gods could survive was a problem. Lin Fan attacked right away. Dao pattern laws descended from the sky, turning into a current that struck towards the evil gods. To control such vast Dao pattern laws, one needed terrifying Dao essence to support them. What a waste. To Lin Fan, he might be lacking in many things, but he wasn't lacking in these things. Heaven and earth shook and the sky ripped apart. The flood from the dimension surged down. Such a battle could only happen at such a level. Amazing. Old Ancestor Zhao was shocked. His eyes opened wide like he had seen a ghost. He knew that sect leader Lin was strong, but he wasn't that strong, right? Not to mention evil god Calamity. The other 7 evil gods weren't easy to deal with. But looking at the situation, They were fighting well, and the evil gods didn't gain any advantage. Calamity hollered in rage. Suddenly, he felt a sense of danger strike him. Calamity, you are too weak and don't fit in with us. I will send you off first. Lin Fan said. The giant hand formed from Tao pattern laws grabbed Calamity. Let me go. Evil god Calamity struggled. Damn. How did this happen? He didn't expect that he would be the first target of this guy. Damn it, it was really damn it. Lin Fan smiled. He opened his mouth and swallowed Calamity. 1 out of the 8 evil gods was gone. The other 7 evil gods were stunned by those scenes. They knew that Calamity wasn't his match, but when they personally saw those scenes, their hearts were still shaken. Okay, 1 weakling is gone. What's left is the 7 of you. I have to say that all of you are really strong, but I noticed that the gap between all of you and me is a little huge. Lin Fan's words were a little arrogant. It was obvious that he didn't care about the 7 evil gods at all. Such actions weren't allowed in battle. It was obvious that he wanted to infuriate them. The evil gods were furious. They had met a tough person, but what they couldn't understand was that he was only at Tao Realm Stage 8. So how could he be so strong? That shouldn't have happened at all. Kill him. The 7 evil gods looked at one another and nodded. No matter what, they had to kill this person. Sect leader Lin is so overbearing. Old ancestor Zhao's mouth was agape. A thought appeared in his heart. If sect leader Lin appeared in their era, wouldn't things be different? After all, his actions were just too overbearing. When they dealt with the evil gods at the front, they needed 4 to 5 Tao Realm Stage 9 experts to deal with them. Especially the 3rd evil god. He was even stronger. But now, sect leader Lin alone suppressed all of them. Moreover, he seemed like he was doing it with ease. Deep Abyss. Evil god Calamity revived. He was furious and vented the rage in his heart. But suddenly, he realized that the situation wasn't right. The Deep Abyss was filled with death energy. Suddenly, he saw a giant corpse. The surface of the corpse shone brightly. It was the light of the evil gods. You are here. Suddenly, a voice rang out in Calamity's ears. He looked into the distance. He didn't expect the top evil god post line to appear. Calamity wanted to say something, but he looked at the corpse. Shortly after, he saw the other corpses. They were all the corpses of evil gods. He said in disbelief, You killed them. No, I didn't. I just sent them back to the Deep Abyss. Postline said slowly. He took in a deep breath and energy spun around his nose. This was the aura of evil gods. Calamity felt that things weren't right, and headed out of the abyss. Damn. Chapter 658. Crazy. Postline was crazy. They were all evil gods, and he actually wanted to attack them. He was really crazy. Calamity fled with all his might, and would turn his head to look. He noticed that Postline stood there and didn't move. He heaved a sigh of relief. But he didn't relax because of that. Instead, he sped up and fled. Suddenly, a terrifying aura spread over. To Calamity, he felt that the surrounding space was a little weird. Instantly, he opened his eyes wide. The space in front of him shook and numerous tentacles surged out from the dimension. They wrapped around him and then pulled him back. No! With a swoosh, Calamity quickly flew towards Postline's location. Only Calamity's last scream was left in the sky. All of you should merge into the abyss. Your strength is too weak for that fellow. Evil god Postline slowly opened his mouth like he was saying it to all the evil gods. Outside world. The 9th evil god screamed. Lin Fan punched him one after another. Each punch didn't feel anything. But very quickly, when Lin Fan punched for the 3rd time, a power that could destroy heaven and earth exploded in the 9th evil god's body. Pung, pung, pung. A shocking rumble shook heaven and earth. The 9th evil god screamed. He didn't dare to believe that Lin Fan was actually so terrifying. A bunch of evil gods suppressed one person, but it was so difficult. This was something that was impossible in the past. Kill him. Kill him quickly. The 9th evil god roared. Evil god power filled the area and formed terrifying phenomenons. But these phenomenons didn't threaten Lin Fan at all. When he broke through to Tao Realm Stage 8, he realized that his strength had reached a terrifying level. How strong was he? It was hard to say. If the number one evil god were to appear and have a good fight with him, he might be able to understand just how strong he was. Kill me? I told you to tell Postline to come out personally, otherwise it is far from enough. Lin Fan opened his fingers and grabbed towards the ninth evil god. Wherever he passed, no evil god could stop him. Pada! He grabbed the evil god and then swallowed him. The darkness god domain in his body started to absorb. As expected, it was the same as he thought. It needed to swallow other evil gods to cause the statue to undergo a shocking change. The flesh moved and covered the surface of the statue. Evolving once more made Lin Fan feel much better. The true body of the darkness god domain was right in front of him, and it wasn't far away anymore. Damn it! When the other evil gods saw the ninth evil god being swallowed, their hearts sank. That damn fellow! How was he so strong? They were all Dao Realm Stage 9 evil gods, and their main bodies were much stronger than living beings. If living beings wanted to deal with them, they would need several powerful beings at the same level as them to be able to contend against them. But now, a Dao Realm Stage 8 living being was suppressing several of them. If they hadn't experienced it themselves, they wouldn't have believed it. Your strength isn't bad, but that's all it is. It's time to send you on your way. 3 punches. 3 punches from me will take down one of you. Lin Fan said calmly. He did not think that his words were overbearing at all. Evil God was furious. To humiliate them like this, they simply deserved to die. Lin Fan raised his hand and punched out into the void. The Dao pattern laws vibrated and seeped into the dimension along with his power. Second punch. Third punch. The 8th evil god that Lin Fan pointed at was stunned. Was there something wrong with this living being? Why are you waving your fists at me from so far away? Did he think that I was a soft persimmon that you could kill me with just 1 punch? But right as he was filled with disdain, something strange had happened. The sky above his head was ripped open, and a destructive power was brewing within. Shortly after, there was a loud explosion. A pillar of light exploded and smashed onto the 8th evil god's body. Ah! The 8th evil god roared in rage. His body was slowly suppressed, and he laid on the ground. What power is this? He was shocked and filled with disbelief. Where did this power come from? Sect leader Lin's strength has exceeded Dao Realm Stage 9, right? Old Ancestor Zhao's expression was solemn, and he muttered to himself. He witnessed Lin Fan's fighting style. The evil god's Dao Realm Stage 9 skills exploded. Logically speaking, those at Dao Realm Stage 8 would be suppressed to the point that they couldn't move. But sect leader Lin used absolute strength to pierce through all the skills. He was inhumanly strong. One couldn't even look at him normally. Save me, save me. The 8th evil god screamed, and hoped that the other evil gods would save him. But it was all too late. Lin Fan's eyes shone. He wanted to crush him, but he wanted to swallow him up. He pounced forwards and swallowed him in an overbearing manner. Ha ha ha, Lin Fan smiled. You evil gods are too weak. What top 10 evil gods? I thought that you were strong, but looking at the situation, you are just SOSO. The remaining evil gods suppressed the rage in their hearts. Damn it! To be mocked by a living being, their hearts were about to explode. Kill this living being. Since they reached such a stage, there was no way back. They could only fight him to the death. Deep Abyss. Evil God Postline saw how the 9th evil god followed closely behind Calamity, and was unhappy. The moment he revived, he merged him into his body. The Abyss didn't need trash. The 9th evil god lost to a living being. That was a huge insult. But shortly after, the 8th evil god revived in the Abyss. This made evil god Postline enter deep thought. Was that living being really so strong? It was expected that Calamity would be killed. It was understandable that the 9th evil god followed closely behind, but the 8th evil god followed closely behind. That was something he couldn't understand. Did they all become so weak? Forget it. Your weakness is insulting the greatness of evil gods. You have to rely on yourself. Evil god Postline muttered, and then attacked the 2 evil gods. But at the moment he made his move, the 7th and 6th evil gods arrived one after another. Damn thing. This made Postline even more determined to punish these evil gods. Ji looked at everything quietly. His heart became really calm. If he was excited before, then after seeing the evil gods die one by one, he knew that they weren't his match. Just like in the past, he thought that he could suppress him, but in the end he paid a heavy price. He looked at Postline. He saw everything that this evil god did. He was strong and terrifying. He always thought that he could kill Lin Fan. But for some reason, he felt that it wasn't quite possible. Maybe it was an illusion. Gee, as the revenge evil god, don't you think that they are losing face for evil gods? Evil god Postline didn't show mercy to his companions. The few top 10 evil gods were wiped out. The so-called undying ability collapsed in front of Postline, who controlled the abyss. Right, they are losing face for evil gods, Ji said. Just as they were talking, another evil god revived in the abyss. Being killed by Lin Fan outside was something that evil gods couldn't accept. But the key was that there was nothing they could do. Fifth. Fourth. In the end, the one who lasted the longest was the third evil god. But he also appeared in the abyss. Postline, come out. I know you did it. You killed all the evil gods? The third evil god hollered in rage. He didn't hate Lin Fan but Postline. They were both evil gods but he attacked them. That was something that he couldn't accept. You control the power of destruction, but you were killed by that living being, and revived in the abyss. Don't you think that you are losing face for evil gods? Postline said slowly. The third evil god raged. Shut up, you traitor of evil gods. You will be punished by the 3 pillar gods and the ancient gods. They won't allow you to do that. Evil god Postline was in deep thought, and then said slowly. You placed your hopes on them. Then, you might be disappointed. Maybe they will never appear in front of you. You! Shock appeared on the third evil god's face. He then hollered in rage. Damn, I will fight you to the death. But in the abyss, how could he be Postline's match? He was just hitting a rock with an egg. Very quickly, the third evil god screamed. Postline sucked in his evil god power. He hollered in rage. You won't have a good ending. Postline laughed in disdain. What a good feeling. Evil god power, without Tao pattern suppression, was indeed the purest. Outside world. Lin Fan swallowed these evil gods, and the darkness god domain in his body shook. There was a shocking change within. Like heaven and earth were being split open. The surrounding environment was being overturned. The god domain within was being flipped. A statue seemed to have revived and gave off a majestic power. Although the statue lacked flesh and blood. But that didn't affect the majesty of the statue. Who? How is it? Lin Fan heaved a sigh of relief expressionlessly. He smiled and turned his head towards Old Ancestor Shao. Old Ancestor Shao was stunned. After holding it in for a long while, he slowly spat out 2 words. Amazing. He was really amazing and couldn't be described with words. Old Ancestor Shao didn't dare to believe that the situation would turn out like this. Just one person was able to suppress the evil god back into the abyss. Could he still be Tao Realm Stage 8 with such strength? No. This exceeded Tao Realm Stage 8. He still said the same thing. If sect leader Lin was born in their era, maybe he wouldn't have to use Tao pattern laws to suppress the evil gods, such that the people here could only cultivate to Tao Realm Stage 7. If they totally let go, then how prosperous would it be now? There would probably be so many Tao Realm Stage 9 experts, and they would reach the peak of cultivation. Chapter 659. Actually, it is still okay. These evil gods aren't that strong. I wanted to test my own strength, but they aren't strong enough, making me feel helpless. Only when the top evil god appears will I be able to test my strength. Lin Fan was really calm, and his tone didn't sound like something a human should have. Normal people wouldn't be able to say such words. Old Ancestor Shao opened his mouth and wanted to say something but stopped. He tried a few times, but in the end he kept quiet. He really had nothing to say now. He didn't know what to say to sect leader Lin. He felt like even if he said it, it would just be nonsense. So, it was best if he didn't say anything. He was willing to be a salted fish that shouted that he was amazing. As for those sect leaders who were watching, he didn't need to care about them. All of them were stunned like they had seen a ghost. Their bodies froze up, and they couldn't move at all. They totally knelt down in front of Lin Fan's terrifying strength. They didn't even think about fighting back. The difference in cultivation was too huge. What else could they think about? Lin Fan looked towards the ocean eye. He was waiting for the top evil god to appear. Maybe only the top evil god could fight him. In the dimension far away, evil god Masaki hid in the darkness and didn't dare to get too close. He was afraid that he would be noticed. He saw those evil gods being killed. He cheered. Well done, so handsome. But more of his shock was towards Lin Fan. What was going on with this person? How did his strength become so terrifying? Didn't the Tao pattern laws return not long ago? How did such an expert appear? That didn't make sense and shouldn't have happened. Damn situation. I thought that things would proceed according to my plan, but who knew that this would happen? Masaki didn't have much to say about other things, but he was very smart. He could think through everything clearly, and most of the time, he would develop according to the plot. For example, after he told the sect leaders about the key to breaking through to stage 8, he would use the chance to strengthen himself. Who knew? Everything went smoothly at the start, and was developing according to what he wrote. But not long later, the situation changed and he was stunned. He could only vent his rage on his servant King Wutong. He was waiting now. Postline would definitely appear, and all the evil gods weren't his match. Moreover, just now, he had a feeling that something was amiss. Even if the evil gods all died, they wouldn't die the kind of death that could be resurrected in the abyss. Instead, they would be completely dead, and wouldn't be resurrected in the future. Looks like he's really making a move. Masaki knew what Postline was thinking, but he didn't expect him to really control the abyss and decide the death of the evil god. Now he was waiting. In his current state, what could he do even if he appeared? It was completely useless. Therefore, it was better to hide here and wait for an opportunity. Who knows, an opportunity might suddenly come. Lin Fan continued to lie on the chair to rest. Doggy, I'm a little hungry. Prepare something to eat. All right. Go Z put on an apron and held a kitchen knife. He started to show off his skills. He knew that young master was definitely tired. After all, he had just gone through a battle where he ganged up on a bunch of people. Old ancestor Xiao walked beside Gozi and hoped that Gozi could cook a dish. Scram to the side. My young master is really tired from fighting with the evil gods. You are just standing at the side and looking on. You want to eat? Keep dreaming. Gozi rejected without hesitation. He didn't even forget to belittle him. Old ancestor Xiao opened his eyes wide and wanted to roar. Did he not want to fight? Why don't you ask your young master? Does he want to fight for me or not? Haze. Old ancestor Xiao was really tired and didn't want to argue with Gozi. He didn't understand him and was biased against him. In the end, he silently retreated to the side. He didn't say a single word. He even wanted to cry. The scene that followed was a little weird. The group of people stood there in a daze while Lin Fan ate his food calmly. From time to time, he would look at the ocean eye of the restricted ocean in anticipation. Who knew when the top evil god Postline would come? Evil god Masaki wanted to scold Lin Fan. At such a crucial moment, he actually had the mood to eat here. Who was he looking down on? Suddenly, an intense tremor spread out. The clouds in the sky tumbled, turning from white to black. A great demon had descended. The ground shook more and more. The dishes on the table shook, and the soup started to spill. This can't do. How could Lin Fan allow such a situation to happen? He floated up and so did the table. It was perfect and there was no tremor at all. Kacha. Cracks appeared on the ground like spiderwebs. The cracks spread out in all directions, and the entire Forbidden Sea underwent an earth-shattering change. Old ancestor Zhao's expression was solemn. He was too familiar with this aura. He wouldn't even forget it. In the past, many of his friends died to the owner of this aura. Deep abyss energy spread out from the ocean eye. It boiled and stirred up heaven and earth. Sect leader Lin, he is here. Old ancestor Xiao said. And I know. Let's eat first. Only when we are full will we have strength. Lin Fan said slowly. He didn't care about other evil gods, but he cared about the top evil god. Especially when the aura he gave off was really strong. He was much more terrifying than those evil gods. Shortly after, a white screen of light burst out from the Forbidden Sea's eye. The veil was like a waterfall. A giant figure appeared in the light screen. This figure was very ethereal, as if it was transparent. Countless tentacle-like things swayed in the light screen. Lin Fan. A voice that caused the sky to shake reverberated throughout the land. The sect leaders felt as though their hearts were about to stop. Their eyes were wide open, and sweat was pouring out of their bodies. Just the voice alone shocked the sect leaders so much that their faces turned ashen white. The gap in strength was just too huge. He has become stronger. Old Ancestor Zhao's breathing became rushed. He was much stronger than before. At the same time, he didn't look right. He was different from before. "Oi, postline, can you let me finish my meal?" Lin Fan shouted. What he was most afraid of was suddenly silence. When Lin Fan said those words, the surrounding environment really became silent. To postline, maybe he didn't expect Lin Fan to say such words. "Lin Fan, you are about to die and you are still so arrogant," Ji hollered in rage. "So it is Alliance Commander Ji." Lin Fan smiled. He didn't care about Ji. "You better hide to the side. I am afraid you will be killed by the ripples of battle." Arrogant. Ji's hatred towards Lin Fan had reached the extreme. He was like a volcano that was about to erupt, and the magma within was boiling. Lin Fan looked at Ji and felt really helpless. But sometimes he respected him. For revenge, Ji acted like a fool, and then became an evil god. Such determination was really admirable. Just at that moment, Lin Fan raised his head, and a sharp aura spread over. Postline attacked. His main body didn't attack, but his aura pressed down. Lin Fan raised his head and squinted his eyes. He gathered an aura, and headed over. Pung. There was no intense explosion. After the two powers clashed, they formed a black hole. The power retracted, and then turned into a dot that disappeared from the world. "You don't even let me eat. You really have no morals," Lin Fan said. "Nine Demon, come." Lin Fan reached out. Nine Demon opened his eyes and with a xiao he swept over. His body turned into liquid that was absorbed into his arm, and then slowly merged into his body. When old Ancestor Xiao saw those scenes, he was really happy. At least it meant that his legacy wasn't broken. Even sect leader Lin cultivated the technique that he created. One had to say that he felt really proud. Kacha. Lin Fan's body changed. His strength climbed, and he struck towards Postline. When he was in front of him, his body swelled to the same height as Postline. He stepped down and with a loud explosion, the ground cracked and a deep crack appeared. "Come." The moment he said this, Postline attacked. Several streaks of light swept across. They were extremely sharp, and the dimension was sliced open. Like a mirror, the dimension was split into pieces and hung in the air, reflecting different dimensions. With a xiao, Lin Fan disappeared from the spot. Even if his body became huge, his speed was still so quick. This was something that couldn't be restricted. The people around all retreated into the distance. Such a battle wasn't something that they could get close to. Maybe just the ripples could kill them. If they got too close, they would just be asking for trouble. Slash. When Lin Fan appeared once more, a shining light condensed in his hand. Lightning wrapped around it, and it could be considered the strongest sword in the world. Even if the sword head saw it, he would have to kneel down and call him father. He slashed forwards. The sky changed color, and the sky was split into two. The sword light landed on Postline's body. Honglong. The aftermath swept out, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. The ground behind Postline was directly split into two, and a boundless abyss appeared. As expected, it won't work. Lin Fan casually slashed and tried. Naturally, he didn't think that he could rely on that to kill Postline. He was just testing the waters. The gigantic sword landed above Postline's head and directly stopped, unable to descend any further. After that, Postline slowly raised his head. Under his gaze, the gigantic sword instantly shattered, transforming into a torrent of sword intent that permeated the air. Evil God Masaki saw all of this and muttered to himself. Damn, he actually merged all the evil gods. He saw through Postline's situation right away. This wasn't his original body, but one that merged all the evil gods and gathered them into his body. Maybe this power. Even if the three-pillar gods and the ancient god appeared, they might not be his match. After all, he controlled the deep abyss. Chapter 660. Truthfully, Masaki was really envious. He was so envious that his heart was about to twist. He also wanted to become someone who could merge with all the evil gods. But if he didn't give him a chance, what else could he do? With Postline's current strength, can that fellow really fight him? Masaki was really confused. The current Postline was really terrifying. Compared to before, his strength had increased to a really high level. Lin Fan, is your strength just like that? Evil God Postline asked. His tone was filled with disdain. To him, that sword was really strong, but it wasn't enough. To compare to him who had merged with many evil gods, this bit of strength couldn't even break his defense. You are really confident. Lin Fan smiled. Not bad. It is good that you are confident. If you don't have any confidence at all, then this battle is so pointless. Evil God Postline scoffed coldly. You are about to die and you are still so stubborn. Damn thing. The moment he said this, without waiting for Lin Fan to take the initiative to attack, Postline slashed over. In that illusory light screen, countless tentacles swept over at an extremely fast speed. His attack range was really wide. Even if old ancestor Xiao and the others retreated far away, they were still covered. Naturally, Lin Fan wouldn't sit still and do nothing. He raised his hand and Dao pattern laws descended from above. Lockdown. Wung. The area shook and a large piece of space was locked down. The space here and the outside space seemed to have formed two different existences. Kacha. Postline's attacks were really intense. They smashed into the space like raindrops and cracks slowly appeared. Decent strength. Lin Fan exclaimed. Postline's strength satisfied him. His comprehension of the Dao pattern laws had already reached an extremely high level. Or it could be said that there was no one who could contend against him. Even an old Dao Realm Stage 9 expert like old ancestor Xiao was the same. Peng. Lin Fan disappeared from the spot. After merging with 9 Demon, naturally, he had to fight close. When he released moves from afar, he looked really handsome. His hair wasn't messy, but it was much weaker. You overestimate yourself. Postline hollered. Lin Fan's actions were in his eyes, and he didn't care at all. Xiao. A ray of light that had fused with the tentacle shuttled back and forth, passing through time and dimension in the blink of an eye. To others, this moment seemed to have frozen, but to Lin Fan, this was all very normal. Patter. Lin Fan stretched out his hand. Piercing through the dimension and time, he grabbed the tentacle. Postline, you're not bad, but... Boom! Before Postline could even finish his sentence, Lin Fan punched out. A terrifying amount of power gathered together and pierced through. When Postline felt this power, his mind trembled. He felt an irresistible force coming at him. Rumble! Postline's giant body shook. Ripples spread out from where Lin Fan hit him. This was a destructive blow. The power that exploded out was enough to destroy any evil god. Even if he had merged with all the evil gods and his strength was raised to an extremely high level, under that punch, he still felt that his condition wasn't good. How is this possible? Postline hollered in rage. He didn't believe it. Evil god power boiled, and was even more terrifying than before. Lin Fan, you deserve to die. Lin Fan obviously wouldn't talk nonsense with Postline. No matter whether or not he deserved to die, he would just beat him up first. Do you know what's the most powerful? I think you definitely don't. Then it is time for me to tell you. I will just randomly beat you to death. Lin Fan roared and appeared in front of Postline. He raised his fists and started punching furiously. At the same time, he used the blood demon reversal technique. No matter what the situation was, the most important thing was for his body to be in its best condition. Pung! Pung! A fist that could shatter heaven and earth landed on Postline's body. Naturally, Postline wouldn't allow Lin Fan to beat him up. Evil god power spread all around. The tentacles viciously struck Lin Fan's body. But what Postline couldn't accept was that what was going on with this person. His body was badly injured, but he recovered in the blink of an eye. Masaki looked at those scenes and felt like things weren't right. That can't be, this person is too strong. He didn't say that Postline was strong, but that Lin Fan was a little strong. He was actually suppressing Postline. This was totally different from what he thought. Suddenly, an even more shocking scene happened. Poochie, Lin Fan got close to Postline. He raised his head and bit down. With a flick of his neck, a piece of evil god flesh was ripped off. Ah! Postline screamed miserably. Bastard, you damned creature. He didn't expect Lin Fan to actually dare to bite his flesh. Good thing. Lin Fan's eyes lit up. When this piece of flesh entered the darkness god domain, it caused a shocking change in the statue. He needed more flesh and blood. This evil god was what he needed. Lin Fan pushed with his arms and pushed Postline to the ground. Then he straddled his body and started to tear his flesh. Poochie! Poochie! There was the sound of Lin Fan ripping flesh off, and also the sound of Postline's tentacles piercing Lin Fan's body. But what shocked Postline was that the tentacles that pierced Lin Fan's body were being swallowed. You are also a monster, right? Postline hollered. He thought about Monster Emperor. Monster Emperor was in the same situation as him. It doesn't matter if I am a monster or not. The key is that we will hurt one another. Lin Fan smiled. He knew that Postline wouldn't die, but all of that wasn't important. He would kill him now. As for whether or not he would revive in the abyss, that was another matter. Selah! Screams spread out. As Lin Fan continued to swallow, the statue became bigger and more complete. Not long later, a puddle of blood dyed the ground. Evil god Postline's corpse became smaller and smaller, and in the end, it disappeared. Lin Fan slowly got up and stood in the air. He used the blood demon reversal technique, and his injuries instantly recovered. What he paid attention to was the changes in his body. The last part of the statue that wasn't covered was finally covered by flesh and blood. Just as all the flesh and blood grew back, a golden light shone in the statue's eyes like it had come alive. A shocking aura spread out, and a storm swept up in the darkness god domain. Everywhere the storm passed, the darkness god domain changed. Darkness chief god, the only god in the world. A surge of memories surged into Lin Fan's mind, assaulting his mind continuously. Old Ancestor Xiao looked at Lin Fan in shock. But shortly after, he realized that Lin Fan's situation was a little off. What is going on? Old Ancestor Xiao didn't dare to move. He didn't know what was going on. They all saw the scenes of Postline being swallowed by Lin Fan. To Old Ancestor Xiao, what was going on with sect leader Lin? Why could he swallow evil gods? That was something he couldn't understand. In the distance, Masaki's expression changed. His gaze towards Lin Fan was a little off. This aura. Masaki frowned and didn't dare to believe it. Maybe it was an illusion. How could that happen? Deep abyss. Postline revived in the abyss and his furious roar shook the land. He didn't expect that to happen. He was actually swallowed by such a small living being. To him, this was an unbearable humiliation. Damn fellow, I want you to pay the price. Postline roared. He wanted to bring the abyss to where Lin Fan was, and let the power of the abyss cover that land. Then, he looked towards Monster Emperor. He was also a monster. But since that was the case, then he would let the monster return too. At that time, he wanted to see how he would block it. Outside world. So that was the case. Lin Fan opened his eyes and smiled. Who knew that the darkness god domain he got had such a background? Why didn't he notice it in the past? That made sense. In the past there were no evil gods. Without swallowing evil gods, how could he notice such things? Old Ancestor Xiao, don't worry. Things have ended. Lin Fan replied. He thought that he would fight to the death with the top evil god, but looking at the situation, it was just so boring. What? Old Ancestor Xiao was stunned and didn't understand what sect leader Lin was saying. How could things end just like that? Could he not be so confident? Suddenly, the ground shook once more. An even more terrifying aura exploded. Masaki was horrified. Has Postline gone mad? He actually summoned the abyss. He was familiar with the aura of the abyss, but he didn't expect Postline to be so crazy. It was obvious that he wanted to kill Lin Fan no matter what. He was looking forward to that. Let's continue to fight. Let's continue to fight. Only when both sides paid the price would he have a chance to turn things around. If Postline died, then he would be the only evil god left in the world. Wouldn't the abyss be his? Thinking about that, Masaki slowly looked forward to it. Honglong. Honglong. The shaking became louder and louder. Lin Fan, you deserve to die. Postline's furious roar spread out. Your actions have totally infuriated me. Now you are not only facing me, you are also facing the abyss. Postline shouted. He was filled with confidence towards the abyss. At the same time, he was really furious. He wanted Lin Fan to pay a heavy price. This aura is too familiar. Lin Fan looked at the abyss that appeared behind Postline. Although this was just the tip of the iceberg, based on the darkness god domain in his body, he knew too many things. Postline, I have something I want to tell you, but I'm afraid you can't take it. Lin Fan said. Ha ha ha, can't take it? Just say what you have to say. Evil god, Postline hollered. Lin Fan said. The abyss isn't yours. When Postline heard that, he was stunned. He then laughed like he had heard a huge joke. If it isn't mine, then is it yours? Lin Fan looked at Postline and nodded his head. It really is. Abyss, come back. Chapter 661. Suddenly, Postline's expression changed. A terrifying thing happened. The abyss behind him shook. He didn't control the abyss, but it was shaking. Quiet. Postline tried his best to calm down the abyss, but what he didn't expect was that he couldn't control it. His connection with the abyss was totally broken. What is going on? Then he looked at Lin Fan. Could it be that what this guy said was true? With a show, the abyss condensed together, turning into a ball that swept forwards. Postline wanted to grab it, but he didn't dare. That was the abyss and not something else. To evil gods, to be able to control the abyss meant that they could control their life and death. Lin Fan raised his hand. The ball formed by the abyss floated in his palm. A weird feeling spread out. Numerous thin threads flew out from his palm and wrapped around the ball. It was absorbing the abyss ball at a visible speed. Postline looked at the abyss slowly disappearing and hollered in rage. Stop, that is mine. The moment he said this, the abyss ball was absorbed. Wung. Instantly, the void behind Lin Fan rippled out as a figure appeared out of nowhere. This person was the statue in Lin Fan's body, and the face was Lin Fan's. A never-before-seen aura exploded and swept the area. The abyss gave birth to all of you, and the abyss is mine. Who do you think you are? Lin Fan said slowly. What a sad fellow. He didn't know what to say. The darkness chief god fell a long time ago. It should be said that when the sky and earth split apart, the turbid energy fell into the deep abyss. The darkness chief god formed from the turbid energy and turned into a crystal that disappeared from the world. Lin Fan obtained it and absorbed the evil god formed from the abyss to recover. This process was really long. Evil god Postline looked at Lin Fan and at the person behind him. His body couldn't help but tremble. He knelt on the ground and buried his head. To Postline, it was like he had met the master who controlled their lives. He had no room to fight back at all. Kiki. Lin Fan smiled. The final battle would always happen. He then looked into the distance. Monster Emperor roared crazily. He absorbed too much evil god and abyss energy, which caused him to go mad. Lin Fan raised his hand, and the deep abyss and evil god aura in Monster Emperor's body gathered. Even the evil god flesh and blood that Monster Emperor absorbed disappeared under his control. Monster Emperor's mutated body slowly returned to its original state. Very soon, Monster Emperor's eyes slowly regained clarity, and he wasn't mad anymore. But to Monster Emperor, everything that happened stunned him. Damn it! What was going on? But when Monster Emperor saw Lin Fan, his expression changed. He hadn't seen Lin Fan in a long time. At the same time, Lin Fan's words and actions made him feel a sense of beauty. Monster Emperor, long time no see. Logically speaking, I should kill you, but you saved my life. I know all of that now. Lin Fan found out from the Alliance. Yin Kuan told him. You can leave. I'll spare your life. But if you continue to kill innocent people, I'll definitely not let you off. Lin Fan said. Monster Emperor looked at Lin Fan, and then at his own body. His perfect body had already disappeared, which made him somewhat unwilling. But there was no other way. What else could he do now? Monster Emperor left swiftly, but very quickly. Lin Fan's voice spread into his ears. Your body is not bad. There is no need to make it so complicated. Monster Emperor shook. He didn't say anything and didn't stop. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared. Lin Fan looked to the side. Masaki, how long are you going to hide for? Masaki, who was hiding in the dimension, was shocked. He walked out from the dimension. He was really weak now and couldn't do anything at all. Masaki was terrified and didn't dare to look at Lin Fan. In his eyes, Lin Fan was like a scorching sun. It pierced his eyes so much that they hurt. Evil gods shouldn't exist, just disappear, Lin Fan said. The moment he said this, Masaki and Postline raised their heads in terror. Spare me. But their bodies turned into smoke and merged into Lin Fan's body. Naturally, Lin Fan wouldn't let evil gods continue to exist. These people were just so annoying, and he couldn't take it anymore. As for Ji, naturally he couldn't be left alive. He raised his hand to suppress. Old ancestor Xiao, it has ended, Lin Fan said and then called out. Cousin Go Zi, let's go home. He didn't care much, and just left right away. Old ancestor Xiao opened his mouth, and felt like something wasn't right. It ended a little too casually. Evil god, that was an evil god. He was someone who gave all Dao Realm Stage 9 experts a headache. Why did he become so casual now? The sect leaders in the distance looked at one another and discussed softly. We are finished. I feel like that person's strength has reached an unbelievable level. Even if we cultivate to Dao Realm Stage 9, it is useless. That seems to be the case. To these sect leaders, they were filled with despair, and they didn't even know what to say. Forget it, let's disperse. Sect leader Lin doesn't care about us, which means that he won't kill us. Let's not ask for trouble. Insect Valley head also came, but he was even further away. He didn't come for evil gods, and also not for old ancestor Xiao. He came for Monster Emperor. He thought that he would be able to control Monster Emperor at the crucial moment. But he didn't expect that such a thing would happen. To him, everything happened for no reason at all. He even had a thought in his mind. So what if he got Monster Emperor? Could he still be Lin Fan's match? Maybe he just wanted to add some joy to his life. In the end, the Insect Valley head cursed and left. He left really casually, and didn't even turn his head. The thing he thought about for so long failed just like that. His heart was in so much pain. U City. Lin Wani waited anxiously. Even if he was in U City, he could sense the terrifying aura when the evil god appeared. Just at that moment, he sensed Fanner's aura from afar, and heaved a sigh of relief. He didn't head out to welcome him, and just strolled around the city leisurely. It was good that he was fine. 7 years later, Lin Manor courtyard. A dignified little boy swaggered into the courtyard. From afar, he saw the man resting leisurely on the chair, and ran over excitedly. Mu Gang, your technique has become even stronger. Lin Fan closed his eyes and enjoyed Mu Gang's massage. Mu Gang was already a massage grandmaster. Her techniques were really exquisite and amazing. Gozi stood at the side and waved his fan. He served Lin Fan loyally. Father! The boy ran and shouted. Very quickly, he was in front of Lin Fan and gave an innocent smile. Father, can you bring me to fly? Lin Fan didn't open his eyes like he was scolding him. The boy reacted and shrunk his head. Uncle Zhao, Auntie Mu, hello. Gozi smiled and touched the boy's head. This was young master's first child. Not long after the evil god battle ended, Madame got pregnant. This made everyone in the Lin Manor really happy. After all, this represented a legacy. At the same time, the divinator was scolded badly. Damn, what happened to 3 years? To Gozi. When young master was born, young master couldn't think of a name. So he asked old master to name him. Old master was too emotional, and his mind was totally blank. He thought for a long time, but still couldn't think of a good name. In the end, it was young master who said, Father, you have thought for a long time and so have I. Let's call him Lin Etienne. It was a really casual naming method. Father, can you bring me to play? I want to fly in the sky. Lin Etienne pulled Lin Fan's sleeves and begged. He really wanted to fly. Lin Fan opened his eyes and turned his head. Kid, can't you see that I am busy? Also, who told you that I know how to fly? Scram to the side. Father, they all say that you are amazing and the top expert in the world. So why can't you fly? Lin Yitian said. Lin Fan said, you just believe what others say. Why are you so clueless? Have you ever seen me, your father, fly? Lin Yitian scratched his head. How would he know whether or not his father was telling the truth? Just at that moment. Then a tender and clear voice rang out. Father. A little girl ran over with a short sword in her hand. She was really cute, and anyone who saw her would like her. This was Lin Fan's little daughter. When Lin Fan heard the voice, he got up right away and hugged the little girl. He said dotingly, Baby, what is wrong? Father, I have been practicing the sword, and there is something wrong. I want father to teach me. Lin Baobao said. Hey's baby, listen to father. Girls shouldn't play with blades and spears. It is so tiring, and it hurts your body. Why don't father bring you to fly in the sky? Lin Fan doted on her and totally ignored Lin Yitian's sad expression. Father, no, baby has to cultivate. Lin Baobao said. Although she was young, she was really interested in martial arts. Lin Fan said, Baby, be good. There is no rush to cultivate. Father will bring you to the sky to catch birds. Father, I want to go too. Lin Yitian raised his hand and said, Yitian, how old are you? Why are you still so playful? Go and study. Lin Fan said. Lin Yitian was about to cry. How did this happen? This was too unfair. He wanted to cry. Yitian, where did you go? Why aren't you studying? Lin Wani's voice spread out from the distance. To Lin Wani, he placed all his focus on this grandson. He definitely couldn't let his grandson follow his father's footsteps. In the past, he didn't have any experience, causing Fanner to be so useless 20 years ago. So, he learned his lesson and had to raise his grandson from a young age. Father, your good grandson is here. Drag him away. Lin Fan shouted. Lin Yitian looked at his father, and then at his grandfather, who was about to arrive. He ran. I am going to find my mother. I am going to complain. Father won't bring me to fly. During these few years, Yongla's looks didn't change. She was still the same as before, but after having a child, her attitude changed. Yongla was watering the flowers when Yitian's voice spread into her ears. Mother. She turned around with a smile on her face. One day. What's wrong? Lin Yitian felt wronged. Mother. I don't want to cultivate, and I don't want to study. I just want to live a leisurely life like father. I asked father to bring me to fly, but he said that he didn't know how. But now that sister is here, I want to bring her to the sky. Yongla touched her son's head. Tian, you must work hard. Your uncle sent a letter to say that he will pass the throne to you. You must cultivate and study hard, so that you can be a good emperor. Mother, you didn't say that in the past. You said that you wanted me to be safe and be a normal person. Lin Yitian said. Yongla's expression was solemn. The past is the past, but you are a boy. How can you do nothing? Your father is willing to be trash. Are you willing to be trash like your father? Mother, I want to be like father. I will be satisfied just being trash. Lin Yitian said softly. Just at that moment, Lin Wani found him. Good grandson, so you ran here. Come with me. You haven't even finished your homework, so how can you play? Father, Yitian needs to discipline this kid. It has been tough on you. Yongla said. Hayes, what are you saying? How can disciplining a grandson be tough? I enjoy it. Lin Wani carried Yitian's collar and then looked at the sky. We can't waste time. We have to fight for every second. The moment he said this, Lin Wani carried Yitian and left. Yongla looked at her crying son and shook her head. She continued to water the flowers. The next day, Sect leader Lin, I want to reopen the sect. Is that okay? Old Demon Wu Wei stood respectfully in front of Lin Fan. He passed a piece of paper with both hands and waited for the outcome. Since the evil god battle 7 years ago, the sect leaders panicked for a period of time. They were afraid that sect leader Lin would settle scores with them. But after a year, nothing happened and they calmed down. Some sect leaders wanted to reopen their sects, but they were afraid that they would be wiped out. Thus, some suppressed their fear, and came to find sect leader Lin, who knew that he would agree. More and more sect leaders came. Some agreed and some didn't. Old demon Wu Wei, you have come once a month during these 6 years and haven't passed. Do you know what your problem is? Lin Fan looked at the rules written on the paper. 1. Don't bully the people. 2. Don't destroy the environment. There were 100 of them. Sect leader Lin, please tell me. Old demon Wu Wei was about to kneel down. He had never thought that it would be so difficult. But to pass down his legacy, he worked hard day after day, year after year. He was tempted when he saw other people's sects being so well opened. Shidao sect, don't you think that this sect name is a little bad? Who dares to call themselves evil in this world? Even Suyi changed his sect name to Taiji sect. Do you think you should change it? Lin Fan said. Thinking about how Suyi changed Yin Yang sect to Taiji sect, he felt that it was good. Moreover, Suyi was really decisive. He directly cut off Acacia sect to pass his review. Old demon Wu Wei blinked. Sect leader Lin, how about this? I will change evil to crab. Is that okay? Crab from crab? Lin Fan asked. Right. Old demon Wu Wei nodded. Lin Fan thought about it. Okay, I will consider it as a pass. Go back and open the sect. But remember, if you can't do it, don't blame me. I will definitely do it. Old demon Wu Wei said right away. At the same time, he heaved a sigh of relief. He finally passed the review. It was just too difficult. Old demon Wu Wei thanked him profusely and left. Lin Fan felt a little bored and went to find his daughter right away. Martial training ground. Lin Baobao was cultivating. Although she was young, she was cultivating really well. Baobao, stop cultivating. Father will bring you to Monster God Mountain to look at the animals. Lin Fan said. Lin Baobao stopped what she was doing. She was really serious but also really cute. Father, can you not disturb my cultivation? I have to work hard. If you do that, I will become trash. Lin Fan walked forwards and hugged her. He rubbed her nose. Little brat, why are you working so hard? Trash is trash. Father will raise you for the rest of your life. Let's go. I will bring you to look at animals. That old monster Heaven Slaying knows how to turn into mini animals. They are really rare, and I definitely haven't seen them before. Do you want to see them? Baobao was a little curious. Yes. Lin Fan smiled. Then let's go. Lin Fan then brought his daughter into the air and left Yu City. Lin Etienne raised his head and looked at the slowly disappearing bodies. He sniffled and felt really sad. He then looked at his grandfather and was so frightened that he shuddered. He continued to work hard at cultivating. In a certain city, since Zhenming took revenge, he didn't appear in the alliance. He came to rich land to walk around and look around. He walked many times. He walked the path that he once walked with rich land and that person he loved. Within the city, there were street vendors selling their goods. On the streets, people walked to and fro. Suddenly, a girl walked over from the opposite side. She didn't see Zhenming, but Zhenming saw her. Is that you? Zhenming's throat felt like it was being grabbed. Although it was tough for him to speak, he still opened his mouth. The girl held a kid in her hands like she was saying something to him. When the girl heard that voice, her body shook. She looked at Zhenming, and her pupils constricted. She suppressed her fear and said, Who are you? Do you have a problem? Zhenming didn't say anything. He just looked at the girl, and then at the kid who looked similar to her. He kept silent for a long while. Although he didn't say anything, his body was shaking and his fingers were clenched tightly. The girl pulled the kid behind her. Zhenming looked at the girl pull the kid behind her. His tightly clenched fingers loosened. Nothing. I just thought that you looked familiar. I mistook you for someone else. The girl pulled the kid away from Zhenming and left quickly. Zhenming slowly raised his head and couldn't help but cry and laugh. It isn't worth it. It really isn't worth it. Sect leader Lin, you were right. When the commoners saw Zhenming like that, they were so frightened that they hid far away. They thought that he was crazy. When Yu Yunmeng heard the voice behind her, she lowered her head and quickened her footsteps. Mother, who is that uncle? The kid asked. Yu Yunmeng touched his head. He is just a passerby in life. I wasn't a good person in the past and did many wrong things. No, in my heart, you are the best person in the world. The kid said. Zhenming had accepted it all. During these years, he didn't know what he was doing, and he was living in his memories. Now that the memories were destroyed, he walked out. It is time to go back. My life has just begun, Zhenming muttered to himself. From then on, Zhenming didn't come to rich land and just lived in the alliance. Finished. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.